Let me know. Plat Chat, Overwatch, episode 176. And we got the whole crew here. We got AVRL, Custa, Avast. And we have none other than Solomon producing.
Yeah.
I don't have to do anything. Hands-free. Hands-free. And the bars are changing. Everything. Oh my God, this is the best day ever. We
I
actually
used to
have a
play for times like this.
We're big time now. We're big time now. We are a producer on the Overwatch show.
I don't think I've ever seen someone so excited to get a demotion in their job. Johnny went from host producer, and we're like, we're removing you from producer, and Johnny's like, yeah. Pain in the ass.
I mean, this is just glorious, honestly.
So
this
good.
is we've been waiting to make it out of the hood for so long. The hood being Johnny producing. So
you know, honestly, I feel like, you know, already into the basketball parallels. I feel like it's been the off season and we recruited some new star player to our team. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what we got cooking. I can't wait to see what this team can do with Solomon as a producer. We can build some fun segments. We already got some real clean stuff in store for you on this episode. So I'm just ecstatic. I mean, I'm delighted. It's been what, 9 months of me trying to change topic bars and speaking at the same time. I've been holding this show down, guys. I gotta sincerely apologize to all of you.
It's really dragged on, hasn't it?
Oh, dude. Well, it was also the off season, so I was like, I don't want to get Solomon involved in the off season because I almost feel bad. Like doing the Overwatch League off season, that's almost like ill. That's awful. But anyway, here we are. Plat Chat episode 176. Week 1 of the Overwatch League is behind us now for the 2023 season, and we got off to a pretty good start. But before we get into the action and all the matches, the results, everything that happened, and even talking about maybe the studio, the show, because there's a lot to talk about, do want to get into the actual game because we do have a new hero being played. I say played a little bit, hinted at. It's yeah. I mean, it's almost like a cameo. Like sometimes you see like a Lifeweaver cameo, and there's a new hero being played. So yeah, Lifeweaver, not getting the most playtime so far. It's the most recent hero in the Overwatch game. And gotta say, we're pretty disappointed, guys. I mean, we got Custa on, we got Avast on, 2 support players. I don't know what your main role, but as a support player...
It changes, roll the dice every day, you know.
Are you a Lifeweaver main? A Lifeweaver believer?
No way.
No, okay.
So please refer to them as their real name. It's Wifeleaver. It's not Lifeweaver, please.
I wish I could, but if I started saying that, I'd say it on the main broadcast, and suddenly I'd be fired.
Okay.
Like, you can't say wife.
I mean, Dustin said run a train on the back line, so I can't.
But we're not on Disney anymore. It's fine. I mean, everything's kosher now, so it's all acceptable.
I don't even think you got a notice for that. Like, I don't even think anyone like sent him a message.
Funny. Dude, I immediately turned it to a meme on the stream. We have an emote now on 7TV called "Run a Train," and it's my face on a train on my street.
Oh my God.
Oh God. So yeah, going into the action, Wifeleaver didn't see a lot of playtime. How disappointed are we, guys? On a scale of 1 to 10, it's a new hero. Everyone's hype is hell because it's, you know, it looks awesome. You know, there's flower. It's just an incredible hero. And no playtime. How disappointed are we? 1 to 10.
I'll go first. I'm extremely excited. I'm actually ecstatic about that. You know why? Because I'm sick of every new hero being giga busted and dominating the meta. For once, we get a hero release, and it's just like not the case. I'm like, yeah, thank God the newest hero isn't just like shitting on the meta. Yes, let's go. More of that, please.
Yeah, they were like, we've heard you guys saying that we're like trying to just like sell in-game purchases, trying to sell the battle pass. We're going to go the opposite direction. We're going to release a character that absolutely sucks. Take that, community. And he really is. Like, the only time we saw him this entire weekend was to just disrespect Vegas Eternal. He technically has a 100% map win rate right now, but he's just so bad that it only works against the Vegas Eternal.
Yeah,
does that say more about the hero or Vegas Eternal?
I'd rather not say.
I think
I should not
both.
say.
I think it's both. Realistically, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yeah, so we saw RuPaul come out with the hero here on Ilios. And it actually kind of made sense. Like, we were in the green room, we were like,
let me shut this down.
If there's any round in the game you want to play this hero on, you can a pedal platform up these high grounds.
Why on this? Why would it make sense here when the Ashe can coach gun anyways, and Mercy could just fly
It doesn't make sense here.
Literally,
he's just
everyone
rolling,
can get up there without him. The only reason they need a pedal platform is for Lifeweaver.
Yeah, but if you play like an Ana, like the Ana can't cope when going up
But
there.
they didn't because they have to play a Lifeweaver.
Oh god. Oh god.
Yeah. What if they had played Lifeweaver Ana and not Mercy? Think about that. Then they put Chorong on Ana because Chorong has played some Ana in the past, or maybe they keep RuPaul on the Ana, which is probably the better pick, and have Chorong play Lifeweaver, and then you could be in pedal platforms, and then when you dive, it's like the Rainforest Cafe. You put the tree, block the dive, and then like that's pretty solid across the board. Then maybe that's a good comp.
Yeah, it's a terrible hero, guys. It's a terrible hero.
It's truly awful.
Yeah, one of the worst heroes we've seen in the game.
Right.
So,
can I caveat that? He's really fun to play. Like, he is actually a fun character to play. Just everything about his numbers and the size of his planet of a hitbox makes him terrible.
Everyone pull up the Custa Jaws duo result. Everyone pull up the Custa Jaws duo result of Custa on Lifeweaver.
The day that Lifeweaver came out, I was like, I don't care about my SR. I'm just going to play the hero anywhere and just troll people's games. And
It's a real Overwatch experience.
And I started, and we went 0-4 to the point that I was in this game with
value
with Punk and Unter. I was there with Punk and Unter in a game. We went 3 minutes and 23 seconds. We had a push with 3 minutes and 23 seconds. We were winning this game. We're like, I'm just going to go Lifeweaver again. We ended up losing this game just because of how bad this hero is. Like, it just all fell apart because you can't do anything. Like, what do you do with the pedal platform?
I love that you block your own LOS with your platform.
I'm trying to use his utility and it just never is useful.
Wait, so you actually lost this game. You got 3 minutes, 23 seconds in the time bank and you lost.
And at the end of it, you'll see Punk go, Scotty, I don't think Lifeweaver is your hero. And I'm like, it's nobody's hero. It's just so bad.
So let's talk about the kit a little bit. Because, I mean, there's some utility there. It's a fun hero, but, like, Lifeweaver doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, the hero doesn't do anything. Like, the abilities, it doesn't give you any sustained advantage in any team fight whatsoever. You can save someone, but, like, who cares about really pulling someone? If they're good players, they won't, overextend in a way. Like, great job. Great pull there,
right there.
That was a big difference maker right there.
Who could have done that, huh? Who could have done that?
My.
Huh? No one else but Lifeweaver could have done that play.
Yeah. Well, other people could have healed the character, or
they could have thrown a lamp, or there's a lot of different options.
So what do we do? Do we just need to add like another ability? Because it's so clear that this hero needs like a new ability or something.
Is the reason he's bad because of the numbers being undertuned, or is it because his abilities are just fundamentally not good regardless of numbers?
I personally don't think. I actually don't think it's actually purely his abilities being bad. I think he has a Shaquille O'Neal size hitbox. Yeah. So like it's insanely easy. Like legitimately, if you take off 4 inches from Lifeweaver's height and then like reduce their size, like they're a lot more survivable right there.
Is the problem that he dies too often, or is the problem that he just doesn't do a lot when he's alive anyway?
I think it's both. I think Lifeweaver's like a super punishable support character, which is like, because you never want a support character that's bigger than your front line. That's like
size of Junker Queen.
This is literally the size of Junker Queen. So it's like incredibly easy to like get picks on them, and like it's tough to off angle, and like because I view Lifeweaver as like as one of the heroes theoretically, and like when in the Mind Palace is like, yeah, you can choose to be like a frontline supporter or like someone that you go to a flank with and you let your flanker like a slow hit scan like take really aggressive fights, and then you can like pull them out and you're pocketing them and like set them up pedals and stuff. But the problem is when you're on a flank with the Lifeweaver, like you're so slow, you have no survivability, and you're humongous. So like it's really easy for you to take a lot of damage and have to back, right? So it's just like, I think it's a combination of the hitbox and the abilities and numbers and everything across the board are just severely undertuned. Like Lifeweaver does nothing better than anybody and is worse at a significant other aspects.
I also think it kind of gives me shades of, you remember when we played Moira with the Enfeeble Orb for a little bit of like, it's this really cool big utility moment with the Enfeeble Orb and it can be very clutch, just like the Life Grip, right? But now that you don't have the damage orb or the healing orb, or what, like you didn't have the damage orb, it's like, what do I do? I just run around and I like left click on some people and then I suck people, but neither of those really feel like meaningful healing or damage. So it doesn't feel like you're doing anything in the game. I think Lifeweaver has that as well. Like your pedal platform is interesting, but not very useful 99% of the time. Your life grip is on a 20-second cooldown, so you don't want to use it that much. So it just sort of feels like you're not really adding anything to the game, and you don't have like a, like an antibiotic grenade, right? That you throw out every like 10, 15 seconds and try and find some value in some way, right? Like it doesn't feel like you're ever getting value out of his kit. So as much as he has like that like fun moments, plus he's undertuned with his numbers, plus, as Avast says, you literally just die to anyone who looks at you. Like, it's just everything combines together to make it feel bad. And I think an important thing to say is, like, with the hitbox, I think we've heard, like, rumblings and people have said, like, a hitbox change isn't as simple as a numbers change. And I think that's what the developers are struggling with, is they can't just right now be like, okay, hotfix, I think the hitbox has changed. I think it's a lot more difficult than that. So I think we will see that change in the future, but it just can't happen as rapidly as
difficult. How? Like you mean they can't just go into Photoshop and drag the rectangle down a little bit?
Yeah, they don't have that one little like
just transform in Photoshop
and then drop that down. And I also think his wings need to.
But are you serious? Or like I'm joking, but are you serious? Or I'm trying to figure out.
I believe
difficult.
It's a lot more difficult to do a hitbox change than it is like any of these other changes. Because you think about it, there's like a lot of things that go into that, right? Like I'm not saying it's impossible, and they've done it with other characters like Junker Queen, but it's not something that you can just like hot fix into the game.
I'd imagine there's also a lot of like animations and physics and interactions that go into like changing the hitbox, because like you have to scale the character model with the hitbox, right? You can't give like your Shaq size character a like normal size hitbox, but then their model is the same size, because then you could just be shooting them and not doing any damage.
Yeah,
right?
so you just drag the rectangle down for all of them.
Yeah, just drag it all. Yeah, all rectangles drag them down. That's
like,
fair.
Well, no, here's what you do. You select all layers and then drag it all down at the same time. Like, what's the problem?
Graphic design and game design is my
there it is.
Like, come on, Team 4. What the? Have they never used Paint 3D before? Come on. Christ. Using that since I was 9.
What's that one? No, they wouldn't be. They'd be using GIMP. You know, like the free. That's like the free 3D Photoshop or whatever, right?
The thing I'm the most worried about is that they'll straight up just like mess with the numbers. They're like, the hero isn't good, guys. What do we need? We gotta bump these numbers up. These are rookie numbers, and they just take like 200 health and make it like 300 health. They were like, it's a big hitbox, and so it means you're gonna take more damage. So we'll give them more health to compensate, and then you'll have like a Lifeweaver with 300 health. I think the problem is that's just lame. Like, it's just straight up lame to play against a character that has good damage numbers and good health numbers. The hero still doesn't do anything. Like, there's no skill ability here. There's no bio-nade to, like, make a big difference. There's no, like, I don't know. I'm just worried about the only way to make this hero better in its current form is to just buff the numbers, which we know is going to end in a bad way.
Yeah. If you buff his numbers, he'll get really strong. Like, I
think I figured out one thing. It sounds like he doesn't have offensive utility. Like, it's pure defensive utility, right? There's no... Because bio-nade, you can use it both ways. And even when you think about Mercy, you have offensive utility just through the blue beam, even though like it's just blue beam, which is actually pretty strong depending on how you use it. And Moira has like skill orb. So I think he's one of the few heroes that it feels like offensively there's very little there. I think that's maybe why it feels less impactful, because it's almost all purely defensive. And Life Grip, I've heard this explained because I was also in group up and we talked about Lifeweaver. And those guys have been slamming Lifeweaver and ranked as well. And one of the comments was like, Life Grip is like a worse res, because with Life Grip, you have to be constantly paying attention to your teammates and you have to preempt when they're going to feed and like prevent them from feeding. Whereas res, you kind of just correct the mistake after they made the mistake is kind of how they explain it. I thought that does kind of make a lot of sense to me. And in that sort of sense, res even feels like a better ability, and Mercy feels like a better hero in that way.
Though we could make the argument that maybe we should just remove res anyways, and thus we don't have to make a comparison.
This is why we need Jaws on the podcast. Yeah. He'd be chiming in.
Personally, I strongly believe
you want me to
that
complain about Mercy? I can take that role. I hate Mercy.
I'm not even here to complain about Mercy. I'm just complaining about res. I just don't think. I think resurrection abilities in a FPS are like kind of lame. But what if for Lifeweaver, if we want to give more offensive utility, what about this? What if we give the grip? We can reverse the polarity. So like it's like you can launch your teammates into the team, but they get a bubble. So it's like Zarya.
That's even more troll. You think people are worried about
people then you can take high ground even easier with them. You put your cast up on high ground. You're like, there you go.
Yeah, or I'm like, this cast says, "Fuck you, Lifeweaver, you're shit," and then I'm like, yeah, we'll watch this idiot, and then I just push him into the enemy team.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you know, we need some potential. I think there's a lot of there's some potential options.
Dude, I'll go. Here we go.
Abilities.
You guys are not fucking ready for this one. What if you could put the pedal platform on a wall? You want to push people?
Okay.
Holy shit.
Wait, it's orcs must die. You just have the fucking pressure plate. They're trying to attack you. You just push them off. That's so smart.
I actually love that.
That would be really funny. That would, if you could push people
Orcs
around.
must die.
I like
they're
that
platforming sideways.
Dude, I actually think they attack and they just poop. They just push them off the.
I'm a fucking genius. That's a good
fun.
idea. That's a really good
fun.
idea.
That's actually a really fun. I think that's even regardless of the troll. I think being able to put the platform sideways, just to move. No, because also imagine you set up for a dive and instead of moving upwards, you move them to the side. You push your peel for your team to the side.
Yeah.
Oh, you deal damage if you crash the enemy into a wall or something.
Oh, it could smash them. Yeah, it could smash them too.
No, Johnny,
that would be fun.
Johnny, here's something toxic. No damage, but you stun them. That's toxic.
You stun them?
We don't want
toxicity.
It's like
because
a
we're already moving.
Back into the game. Let's go.
No, if we already can move people against their will, I don't think you should be able to stun them too. Because then we're literally getting too dangerous at that point. That's getting too troll. If we can stun and move them against their will, it should just be one or the other. You can't have them all. Okay, we can't release the fucking nuclear bomb, the Oppenheimer of fucking CC and Overwatch.
I don't know. I kind of going back to Avast Edition. I kind of like that, being able to push people. People always complain about
my idea. What the fuck?
Oh, it was your. No, I meant with the grip, launching people with the grip.
Yeah, with the grip, because we haven't had a trebuchet hero yet. We haven't had one.
This is some just heinous
No, but I mean,
ideas.
legitimately though, that is a kind of interesting idea because we haven't Lifeweaver's kit is based around repositioning your teammates. Why shouldn't we expand their kit to make it where they're more viable to reposition your teammates in useful ways? You have the option to put some up with a bubble for a dive or an engage, right? You have someone, and it still can work as a peel ability because theoretically you could just move them a different direction. I think it should be it's like Gmod. You can just just move them fucking around, you know? It's not just set. I'm sure that's way harder to do though, I imagine, than just a simple pool. I bet the mechanics of that are hard to actually make.
Also, let's pause down to earth for just a second. The one thing that is a big problem with the pool as well, if someone uses a mobility ability while they're being pulled, it cancels it, and that fucks it up. I would say 50% of the time when I try and grab someone, especially your tank, right? When you think your Winston's at 50 health, you grab him. He tries to Winston jump at the same time, or it's happened a lot with Diva. You saw it in the clip that I did with that Hanzo, where it's they do it, it just breaks the bubble, and then they come out, and they potentially in a worse spot than they were a second ago. So I think it's kind of clunky in that aspect as well.
Here's what Blizzard are actually going to do. All memes aside, this is actually what they're going to do for the hero. I'm just guessing, but this is just based on what I think they normally do. They'll reduce the hitbox eventually. I don't know how complex that is. I'll give you a benefit of the doubt there, Scott. Maybe it is complex. However long it takes, and they'll reduce it to, I don't know what size. Make him the normal support size. Not like a brick, maybe close to an Ana. And then they'll up his healing rate by 50%. And by healing rate, I don't mean the amount you heal, just the speed it charges. I think if you just increase the speed it charges, it will feel much better and more impactful. Because I think the actual healing numbers are pretty low, and that was one of the complaints. And then maybe add a small heal into the life grip as well. Probably what'll happen.
I can tell you that another thing that I've talked to about people is that the healing numbers are not as low as people think they are. The problem is, if for him to do those healing numbers, he just doesn't do that as well. So if you buff his healing, I think he goes into the #1 healing spot pretty quickly. But if you would buff it anymore, which I was just as surprised as you were. And I think that's as well that because the tree does a lot of fucking healing. If you think about, especially over the duration of it.
The tree does do a lot of healing, but we saw in Overwatch
it's not meaningful healing. It's Moira healing, right?
Yeah,
it's Moira healing. It doesn't mean anything. Usually, it doesn't save anyone from dying. You can't direct that healing into one person. It's just shitty healing.
I had a trolley idea on group up. If you want the new tree ultimate, is the tree now gains your ability, so now the tree can just start life gripping and putting down petals and shit. It just
so the tree can only gain
It's like Convoke the Elements in WoW, where it just starts throwing random Lifeweaver abilities out. It throws 10 out
tree can just use abilities. Yeah.
I think the tree is also very underwhelming. From what we've seen, this tree is the ult. That's another compounding factor why Lifeweaver I don't think is the tree is cool, but the healing is currently negligible. It's you can easily burn people through it. It does not save anyone from like burst damage. And on top of that, like you know, realistically, it doesn't provide any other utility other than a heal thing. Like it's cool that it can block stuff, but we really haven't seen it. Like, you know, there's not really a lot of situations where that's like super useful. And so the main point of it is healing, and the healing, like Custa said, is like not enough, and it's not enough to save you from burst damage in particular.
It really should deal damage. It should be like a poison ivy tree. So just like enemy heroes that are near it just like start itching, and they're just like, holy fuck, like this fucking poison ivy, I can't get it off. And
I mean, I think it'd be cool if it
too.
was like a duel. Like maybe if it was like enemies inside the radius take damage, and then heroes inside of it get healed. Like your allies get healed, you know?
What if you locked people inside of it? If you get caught in the tree, it's
rooted?
like, it's the gulag. All of a sudden, it's like,
but
no
then,
one
like,
leaves.
would you want it to
That would be the
heal
strongest
still?
ultimate of the game.
Would it still heal?
Yeah,
you know?
I don't know.
That sounds
So,
so
like,
annoying.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know, it's not a great idea, but it'd be fun.
I could see it as the best dive ult ever, the best counter dive ult ever being created. Is like you dive, then you get rooted, and then everyone gets healed on the enemy team.
I think when you put the tree down, one of your allies can go into it like a mech in Titanfall 2, and then you pilot the tree around like an ant in Lord of the Rings. You get to like tree smash people.
Honestly, the more I debate about Lifeweaver, the more I'm like, this character is like going to be so insanely fucking hard to balance.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
Because they were cooking in the lab for too long with this one. Like they were really cooking, and they like created some interesting ideas and abilities. But I legitimately think this is going to be because this isn't like as simple as numbers tweaks for Lifeweaver. There's like so many cascading aspects of his kit that need to be addressed, from like his literal physical design to his utility, to his ult. Like there's so
I think Blizzard will just touch the numbers. I'm pretty sure they'll just move the numbers around.
If they touch numbers, I don't think I feel like we've entered, you know, the very sad zone with Lifeweaver.
Well,
I would honestly. I have a serious edition, Custa. What do you got?
I have a serious edition as well, but you go first.
All right. I would honestly. Oh my god, you guys might hate this. I would honestly consider giving Lifeweaver, because his hitbox is so big and can take so much damage. Just give him a second dash, like 2 charges of dash. Can dash forward, go aggressive as well. Can dash back.
Like I like the idea.
That's reasonable.
I don't hate it.
His dash needs to be better. It needs to make him more survivable. Currently, like you dash, you get 25 health, and you're like, well, shit, that doesn't help me.
Yeah,
at all.
25 is nothing. Make it 50 or something.
Yeah, like make it like 40.
50 is insane.
No, I think you make it like 40 and you give him two charges. I agree with Johnny. And like you need to like start, like there needs to be a way for him to live. Like the problem that I think they're going to have is I think he's probably never going to be a strong hero. With his current kit, he's never going to be, but I think he'll have a niche, right? And that's like, he's the Symmetra, right, of the support lineup. And I think that's fine.
Can I... As you done with your series? I'm coming. I know I've been memeing, but I'm coming with
a serious one too.
Did you say it already?
Like, no, well, like that wasn't like exactly what I was trying to say. Like my point is like it's fine for them to have this like niche and like not be perfect. I just think they need to be careful about adding abilities. I think they just keep tweaking his numbers until people start playing him. Like I think you reduce his hitbox, see how that makes him feel. Maybe buff his dash in the way that we just talked, see how that makes him feel, and then just like slowly feel him out until he becomes good. If you start adding too many things, you change his hitbox and then you give him another ability, or you do all these things, he might become just like giga overpowered. We'll see a massive power creep, and then all of a sudden he'll just be the best hero in the game.
I have also a serious comment to make, but it's going to be toxic, so apologies. My toxic serious comment is that I don't think every single hero needs to be viable or good.
Yeah, that's
and I'm
fair.
perfectly okay with this guy just sucking, because we got 30-something heroes, brother. Not all of them are going to be good. Some of them are just going to be bad, and maybe that's the reality we live in, and we just accept it.
Wow, that's very.
I will.
reasonable.
It was actually interesting because we were talking to Jake about this actually recently, and he was saying like something that's nice about Overwatch 2 is it feels like you can play any hero and it doesn't feel like a throw. I think the problem with that is like I agree that Lifeweaver doesn't need to be good and doesn't need to be viable, but it can't be a hero right now. If you have a Lifeweaver on your team, your chance of winning goes down dramatically compared to the other team. And
are there
so,
really
like,
no throw heroes at the moment?
Not really. Like if you look at the rest of the roster, there aren't many throw heroes. Obviously, some are better than others, but like Lifeweaver is by far the worst hero to play in the game right now, and I think he probably has like a 35% win rate.
Jaws tweeted about getting GM1 on Torb, and I was like, wait a minute.
I mean, Torb is really good against like dive heroes, you know? Like
Yeah,
it's good.
which
It's,
is-
like Storm has a real
Storm's
use
not
there.
bad. Like he's not great, but he's not bad.
I would still feel like, to me, I still would think like Symmetra has to be close to that level just because it's so many niche opportunities where Sim is good. But I think Sim is a lot better in Overwatch 2 in the space that she has now than she used to be. So.
I believe I don't know if this is still true, but I remember talking to a developer about this in the past, and they said that Symmetra actually has one of the highest unmatched win rates but the difference is people play her in the right situations, right? Like you only play her when she's really good. Like you play her in Lijiang things.
Yeah.
There's not many people just like playing her in situations where she's not good. So yeah, she's not a great hero, but when people do play her, it's usually for the right reason.
Also, when people are playing her for the right reasons, I think in ranked in particular, there's really hard for ranked teams to deal with the team that does a proper sim TP. So like those stats are, you know, they're stats. They obviously don't necessarily add the context to that. But like I still think Symmetra generally, I would prefer not to get a Symmetra on my team on every map. You know, like if I were to take a holistic, I'd be like, okay, there are a lot of maps where I would not necessarily want a sim. But it's true, she's a lot more useful now. Like she is. Generally, the roster has been updated to be a lot more generalist, perhaps. So I still think like that is definitely true. But Lifeweaver is possibly out of all the supports the least currently. So
So 2 dashes and smaller hitboxes where we landed.
that would be a starting point, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that's a start. That's a good starting point.
And then
And
maybe
pushing
some
people
numbers adjustment, maybe
sideways
some numbers.
pedal platforms
And
And the gulag tree.
and-
Orcs must die too in there a little bit as well.
tree dealing damage.
Dude,
the
I'm
tree of
telling you,
life.
that sideways placing pedal is actually such a fun idea.
Yeah.
I would love for the pedal
I'm
to
sending
get
an
more
email to
utility.
Aaron right now.
I think it would be so
I'm pulling
cool.
up Gmail right now.
I actually think there's so much there for like the pedal to be like you could do more with the pedal, like a place on different walls. Like I think that would actually be super. And same thing with the grip. I think
Just
it'd
wait.
be cool.
Just wait until I put out the idea. You can place it on the ceiling as well. And you can crush people with it. Ooh.
No, that's the route. Instead of it killing them, they get stuck. They get compressed in between it, and they can't move.
Should you just be
further.
able to like retract it and push it like endlessly too? Just like retract, push,
No,
retract,
I think that
push,
would be too
retract,
dumb.
push.
You have to. It
Oh,
has
okay.
just like a trigger. It's just going to be a
Oh,
place
I-
and a trigger.
You know the best will be you find the Sombra translocator and you just put the pedal right next to it and just like Orcs must die somebody into the off the map.
That would be so sweet.
Amazing. Yeah. We fixed Lifeweaver, guys. We fixed Lifeweaver. Good job. That we did on the pod. We'll forward this to the developers with our incredible relationships we have with them. All right. So I want to get into the Overwatch League results from this past week. It was week 1 of the Overwatch League. Before we get into the results, just like first impressions, how did it feel? What's the vibes? Because I was in the studio in week 1 and it was just like great vibes. Honestly, the vibes were unbelievable. It was so good. We had a great time on the desk. The matches were good. No tech issues. So I'm just having a good time. How did you guys feel watching it from your different kind of experiences? You know, Avast, watch partying, of course, co-streaming, and Custa coming into the studio, AVRL doing the APAC broadcast. How do you guys feel about it?
It was good.
I slept well. You know, when you guys were in studio, I was sleeping, and I just got to say I slept well. That's
It
my
was good. It was.
contribution.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I think this is actually probably the least, also for an opening week, the least amount of production issues that was ever occurred. I think that the studio looked really nice. Thank you, Rocket League, for that. We appreciate that heavily. We appreciate. I mean,
On the
also
sword for us.
and also thank you, YouTube Money, for the studio. We got 4K finally on the main broadcast. 4K, which
Yay.
I didn't think that was ever gonna fucking happen, honestly. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, fantastic. So I was like, oh, this is nice, and the viewership was like pretty fine most of the time. Like it was
How
not
can you
bad.
say, oh, whoa, okay. How can you say viewership was pretty fine when we set it like minimum 80K for most matches?
That's pretty fine.
Isn't that like
double
incredible for the
last year.
standard
I
of
would
Overwatch
say-
League? That's pretty incredible.
I'm
don't know
not
what
saying
your guys'
I don't
standards
think
are.
100K is incredible personally.
I would
That's what we
say
got in the first season.
to feel good, I would want to like hover above at least 60 all season.
Yeah,
And
sure.
so
I
opening
mean,
week can be above 80, 90.
I just view it from like a monetization perspective. Like 100K to me, like more successful esports sit 100K average all the time, and they earn nothing from that. So like, what does 100K mean to us? It's nice. It's good to have. I'm just saying that like season, the point being is like, I think it's pretty good. Like it's pretty solid. Like I don't think it's anything incredible. Like incredible would be like, oh, we're at 200K plus all the time. Pretty good is like 100K.
I guess I agree with you that it's like, yeah, in a perfect world we'd be sitting at 200k, but like literally no other esport sits at 200k. Valorant doesn't even get, like, obviously if you combine all their co-streams, maybe, and they're the biggest esport in the world right now for who's doing like regular games. So it's like,
yeah, I mean, and they're not making money either. It's all subsidized. So it's all like, the point being is like, I guess, don't get me wrong, I think it's really successful. I'm just saying that like, I'm just saying in the grand scheme of things, I guess I should contextualize it. It's very good for Overwatch. It's extremely good.
I guess that's
extremely
sort of
good.
Yeah.
It was an extremely good opening weekend viewership wise for Overwatch League, and like I was very happy with it. Minimal issues across that. I think everything went great. You know, like segment. You know, it was good. Matches were fun. We had a very pretty diverse opening meta.
Matches were actually, relatively speaking, bad because we had like 7 3-0s in a row.
Yeah, but I still had fun watching them. So
that's fair.
Not all of them.
Vegas,
I think not all the
Vegas.
Vegas. I could tell I did not enjoy watching Vegas, but like most of them, I was so.
Yeah, I'm looking at the esports charts, and it says, sorry, I'll let you go, AVRL, but it says on esports charts we peaked at 112,000, and it says our average viewers this week was 78,500.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You know, that's
really good,
very solid for, you know, what the doom and gloom people were experiencing. I think it's very, very solid. I think that's the type of viewership that LCS gets on Twitch. So like people should be happy. People should be happy about that.
Especially when you consider last year we sat at like 30k. Sorry, Abel, you go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you finish. For a single platform, yeah. I mean, like,
yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ, even Overwatch Contenders, which I don't think I think it's on both YouTube and Twitch, but Contenders is now separate to Overwatch League. They get to do Twitch stuff. They're actually beating VCT, like Valorant NA even, on Twitch. Now, okay, like Scott said, if you start including all the costume stuff, it's a different story. But like, it's like I've taken screenshots where I'm like, both channels are live. Contenders NA and VCT NA. And Contenders NA has more viewership on Twitch. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? So we got that going for us.
I think people still have to like get their expectations up a bit. Like they have to get rolling a bit. Be like, oh, this is pretty good. You know.
I think it's a step in the right direction. Obviously, the elephant in the room is that it is absolutely inflated by drops, right? That's why Collegiate and Contenders have so many people, right? Like people are just there for the drops, but like, fuck it,
exactly.
You take what
Don't
you can
care.
get. It's a great way to get people into the esport, right? And this is something we've been asking for the Overwatch League for a long time. It's just like, give people a reason to watch, and you can tell like off the bat they give you a reason to watch. People will come.
We're far from the only esport that does drops. Literally every esport just does drops now, so it's like it's so normal. So who cares? I mean, every esport does it. But back to this talk about the studio and setup. Like, yeah, it's brilliant. This is like the first season we're doing regular studio since start of season 3 before COVID, like pre-COVID season 3, right?
Yeah.
We had a studio.
And let me tell you, this studio is like miles above what we had in season 3. Season 3 was one camera on one desk in front of one green screen.
Yeah,
that was it.
So yeah, there's beats it by miles, and you got, you know, the LED screens on the sides, the telestrations. Jesus fucking Christ, Johnny, you should have been on the lower step. Why are you on the back step?
Yeah, we didn't have a real good approach to that one. It's,
Danny looks like your child in this. Like he's like the perspective is just so.
Oh god,
it just
Jake looks
so
like your
bad.
child for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it all looks brilliant. Like it's a massive upgrade. I think the feedback from even the player coaches side is they all love it as well.
Yeah, they were like, oh, like we're being taken seriously to some extent because you know they do this shit for a living, like 12 hours a day practicing and stuff, and so they're like, oh, this is cool. Like, you know, we actually.
This feels like the esports given the respect to the players and all that they deserve as well. Not that I felt like they were being disrespected, but you know what I mean. Like the
it feels good.
Up.
It feels that it doesn't feel like it's a joke, like afterthought of a product now. It feels like there's at least some level of like we care about the product that is going on.
Yeah. So. No, yeah, 100%. Yeah, to touch more on the drop thing, I sort of feel like the ball is in the Overwatch dev team's court. Like they can entirely dictate, you know, how proactive they want to do when it comes to drops this year, and actually use that as a momentum, use that to, you know, keep people interested in the broadcast, to keep people interested in Overwatch, because I don't think it's going to be to anyone's surprise that as people get rewarded with their drops, the viewership is going to continue to drop. Like, oh, I got my skin, I'm out of here. And I don't think that's surprising to anyone. It's the reality of the situation right now. But as long as like the devs are like, yeah, let's throw in a skin here, let's throw in a skin there, like that could much benefit the entire esports scene. So I feel like the ball is really in their court, and how many skins do they want to invest in the scene to make sure that like people pay attention and like watch these broadcasts?
Not just skins, bro. Anything. Like you can do the why does every team not have its own little banner thing? You know, why do you not get a title for every single team? You know, the charms as well, the golden charms, that all kind of got like not leaked, but like that's been teased before. But realistically, I don't want to get too heavily into monetization talk, so I'm gonna keep a lid on this one, I promise. But like, what I think the goal should be from the Team 4 side, working with the Overwatch League, is there should be so much stuff in the Overwatch League shop to buy that you actually can't like get enough free tokens from watching to buy it all. That would actually incentivize people to watch more, just to maximize watching, but also, shit, I might actually have to pay some money, because I don't know what the sort of revenue back to the teams is from anything bought from the Overwatch League store. Given that most people are paying for that through tokens that they farmed and not tokens that they bought, I don't know how that translates sales revenue wise. If you catch my drift.
Given that most owners seem pretty dissatisfied with their return,
I think drops is fine. Like, you need viewer incentives. That's important. Viewer incentives is important. I agree with that. However, like, if you just give everything away for free, you're also not making any money. So you have to have something where people are spending some money on the AL tokens. And I think the only healthy way to do that is to have like so much good stuff in the shop that you actually can't watch enough to get it all for free. You can get some for free, you can't get all for free.
I wouldn't be surprised as well if they have a lot of those things ready to go into the shop, but you kind of want to drip feed it to the audience as well. You don't want to put, like, I agree that you want it to have so many token things that they can buy that it's almost impossible to get it just from free tokens. That they want people to buy stuff now, but then they'll keep releasing new stuff that people feel like they need to get or they need to buy, which will give them reasons to buy tokens and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if that stuff is coming, but also, they don't want to drop that on day one.
I think not that I have an issue with token farmers just going AFK, but if you want to build engagement to just like have people not be AFK all the time, even if you want to be AFK, it's like, here's additional ways you can earn more tokens during the broadcast. Like, I don't know, maybe a QR code pops up mid-broadcast. When I say mid-broadcast, like, it could be at the end of a game. It doesn't have to be disruptive. You could maybe get more tokens or whatever. Like, it's just stuff that keeps the viewer engaged, so that they're not just literally like turning on the stream, minimizing it, and just walking away or doing some other shit. Like, you have to actually pay attention to the stream and pay attention to the broadcast, and certain things might happen and you could get some additional tokens. The people that really want more tokens, that'll actually make them more engaged, and then they'll pay more attention to the broadcast. And you're trying to convert people from just being casual into token farm, and then token farmers into real viewers. So you got to have some steps in between to get their engagement up, in my opinion.
I feel like they're cooking. They have something right here. They just need to figure out ways to activate the viewers, how to keep people on the broadcast, and just like make the most of it. Because I feel like I could sit in like a meeting or like meetings all week and just like think about ways to utilize this system in so many ways and to make it really attractive for the viewers, how to get people involved. I feel like just drip feeding people through the broadcast, that's just like the first step. But there are so many ways you could reiterate on this and to get people involved, and in all these ways that you mentioned, AVRL. So I feel like they sort of have like lightning in a bottle here, and they just need to find a way to like, how do we make the most out of this? So yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad the vibes are good. It's honestly such a huge relief. You remember those episodes in January? Holy fuck, we were so negative. We were just.
Can I bring one more good vibe?
Yeah, one more good vibe.
It's like a 50-50. Okay.
Overload.
APAC doesn't have a desk, which sucks, but whatever. But there's LAN matches, fellas. Soul versus Soul on LAN.
That was sick.
Well, isn't that only for now? I'm asking for clarification. Isn't that only for the contenders, the Korean contenders teams, and the teams based like Seoul Infernal and Seoul Dynasty? Or am I misunderstanding that?
I think. Don't quote me on this. Maybe I'm just fucking hoping right now. This is my hopium. If Dallas plays one of the Seoul teams, they should always also do it on LAN. Because Dallas played Guangzhou, but they did that online, which I think, to be fair, like, okay, if Guangzhou are going to do it online, making Dallas go to the studio, which could be seen as a disadvantage. Correct. The Chinese teams are not in Korea.
Yeah.
But the teams that are in Korea, which are the two Seoul teams and Dallas, is there any? Yeah, it's just those
Shanghai
three.
in Korea? You'd assume
No,
Shanghai.
I'm pretty sure Shanghai are playing out of Shanghai. Oh, actually,
really?
I don't know that 100%. But
Yeah.
every year for Shanghai since 2020, they've been in Shanghai in their own facility.
Shanghai's in Zaza land with their team. They're
But
they're not.
at the
that's
same
where they're
time,
at.
like I don't know, like NetEase is cutting back everything to do with Overwatch and Overwatch League, so I wouldn't be surprised if. But then again, it's like if they get rid of the facility, what are they going to do? Pay money to do the same thing in Seoul? You're paying money either way.
Wow. That's popping off, dude. That's
yeah,
There's a lot of people there.
it's
There's a lot of people there.
What's the studio's name again? It's like the
WDG.
WGG studio. Yeah, it's a 6 studio. It's very nice. It's a tiny little studio, but it's very quaint. But it's nice. It's a nice studio.
Yeah.
Was it the Dayhana cinema or something? We went there, and I already
We
forgot
went
that.
there, yeah. It's good.
What?
It's a cool little place.
Wait, what? What they cooking?
What
What
are they
happened?
cooking? Seoul, Korea. Seoul, Korea. Seoul,
Oh,
Korea.
wow.
Seoul, Korea. Just
Oh,
reading the
God.
damn fucking jerseys.
So I guess we'll find out this coming week actually, because Seoul Infernal are playing Dallas Fuel.
Yeah.
So
They better
should
both be
find out.
online. They better both be there. I'm pissed.
yeah,
if
you'd
they're
hope
not.
so. Yeah, you'd hope so. But nevertheless, I mean, this Seoul rivalry is really cool. So I hope to see more matches like these. I don't know how many times they're actually playing each other this year, but hope to see more of this. Before we get into the APAC matches, I want to start with the Western region matches, and we're gonna reiterate on this. We're gonna find ways to make it better, but I kind of want to do like a smaller kind of recap of each week and just hit on the biggest things each week. So we got this like, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly kind of thing, but I want to Overwatch it. I want to Overwatchize it. That's a word. To just like, instead of the classic good, bad, ugly, someone in chat, someone on Reddit, they'll figure out a way to make it sound way cooler and way sooner, more than I ever could. So if you have suggestions, drop them in the comments down below. But yes, I wanted to start off with the good teams of this past week. So the without question, the best team we saw this past week was the Atlanta Reign.
Oh, that's okay, that's fair.
Okay, yeah, I mean we'll get there later. There's a different team. I don't know which one you said, but we'll get there later. The Atlanta Reign, they kicked off an incredible week here, really, with two really good wins for them. One of which was against the San Francisco Shock. The other one against New York Excelsior. I mean, okay, yeah, good job. You beat the New York Excelsior. But this match right here against the San Francisco Shock, I really feel like this was a statement win for the Atlanta Reign. Shock really couldn't keep up at all in this one. So as we all kind of put Atlanta Reign number one in our rankings, except the Plat Chat ones.
Excuse
how
me?
do we feel about the Atlanta Reign? Are they just like this unstoppable force this season? By far the best team we have.
I don't
in
like
league.
the vibes of this Atlanta Reign team.
What? Okay, wait, okay, no, actually, that's fair. We were allowed to have. See, okay, you're allowed to do vibes-based stuff within the first week. After week 1, all vibes-based predictions are done. Okay, they're only allowed in the preseason / early week because that's all you have to go off of is vibes.
I'm only doing vibes-based predictions for the whole year.
Oh, for the whole year you're gonna do
I'm gonna stick to
vibes?
that.
I mean, I'd be impressed. I mean, if you can do
Vibe
it,
rankings.
I'd be impressed. I'd be pretty impressed if it's like semi-accurate too.
We should honestly do vibe rankings on the on the Plat Chat. But yeah, Atlanta Reign just look kind of unstoppable right now. Are they like by far and away the best team in the region, you guys think?
In this meta, for sure. I think when you, I don't know. This is like the chicken and egg situation. I don't know if they're good because we're in a Sombra meta, or whether they're good because they force the Sombra meta and everyone else has to play. Like this is the Hanbin / Dallas Fuel forcing Brawl Zarya stuff from last year and the year before that, but now it's Lip and Sombra. Because I feel like we see some Sombra in APAC, but we see way more dive, way more Sombra in NA. And when you have the world's best Sombra on Atlanta Reign, I mean, you're going to farm, you are going to destroy. And Lip is by far, like, he is just so much better than everyone else.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's Custa. You go first, actually. Let me keep gathering my thoughts.
Yeah, I think right now you can definitely say they're the best in the world. They were playing Sombra metas even in the Pro when Sombra wasn't even that viable, and that's probably one of the reasons that they ended up falling like slightly short, in my opinion. They weren't willing to play that strong Cassidy, but for right now I think they look good. they have a deep roster if they ever need to go to it, like Hawk and Vigilante, just like, waiting to come off the bench, I think is enormous for them. So I think they are the most proven team to be number one. Like, I feel like we know what we're going to expect. And that's the difficulty when you talk about the other teams we were ranking highly, like, the San Francisco Shock and the Hangzhou Spark, is like, how good are these teams really? And obviously we're getting mixed results from just the first weekend.
Yeah. I mean, also, I still think that like the two teams that like right now you can make the argument is like obviously the Houston Outlaws would be the other team that's in this conversation, and obviously they both played very good opponents here and both played a weaker opponent. So like their strength of schedule so far has been like, I would say relatively equivalent. And I would say that like Outlaws, they were played a slightly different style than Rain 2 that I'd be interested to see this because they put a lot more Genji than Rain did, like a lot more Genji, and it looked really good. So I don't know. I don't know if there's like a definitive. I do think that like with how strong the Sombra meta currently is, and also in particular, God, the Ana Brigida with Chio Fielder is so nasty for them.
Chio was crazy.
Because Chio's best hero might honestly be the Brigida at times. Even though Chio's Lucio is fucking crazy, but like he kind of reminds me of like Chorong in terms of like he's actually such an insanely good Lucio player, but he's also so fucking good at Brigida and like getting the max value out of the kit. And then like both of them, when you look at like, when you see like whether it be Shu on Ana or Fielder on Ana, it's like you're seeing like both two like very, very high caliber Ana players that get the most out of their kit in different ways even. So it's hard. It's really hard to see, like, for me, like, which one I definitively would have above. I think currently with the strength of Sombra, you would probably have the Rain simply because of Lip. But I'd like to see theoretically how their matchup would go, where you ran like this, maybe even like mirrors, but like Pelican plays more like Genji into them, right, or something like that. Like it would be interesting to see how that would go.
I think Genji's that good though. Like
I don't know. Actually, I'm not sure. I think Genji
just
actually
get
does
farmed
have.
by Sombra.
I don't know. I really don't know, because Genji, it's in an interesting spot because like Sombra is really, really good at fighting those flankers, right? We've seen Sombras all the time. This was like the opening move for most of these Sombra plays. Like we get a hack on a Tracer and we get a kill and we move off that, right? Like we get that opening hack. I really don't know like how, I'm not totally certain, but I feel like with the caliber of Genji play that's available and with the strength of like a Nano Blade in this comp, like I don't think a Nano Blade is like, especially because a lot of teams are playing this on a Brigida. There's a lot of counters, but like with good Winston dives, you can absorb most of the cooldowns, like sleep and like flail and such, right? So I would be interested to see the matchup. I think overall I'd probably favor the Rain though. I think the Sombra play is probably the better current meta.
I think Trace is too good too, because if you're going, are you going Tracer Genji or are you going Genji Sombra is the question. And if you're shelving the Tracer, I think that's a mistake. And this is actually one area that I underestimated the Houston Outlaws on. This is in my brain, in terms of preseason, I was like, man, Pelican is not going to be elite enough on the Tracer, and he was actually a lot better than I thought. So I got to give him credit there. He actually played super well there. So I fully slept on Pelican's Tracer there, I'll admit, and kind of proved me wrong. So Houston, I mean, you're in a Winston meta with Fearless. One of the perceived weaknesses that I thought wasn't actually weakness at all. So it makes a lot of sense why Houston's good.
Yeah,
they Houston Outlaws did actually play, some Genji stuff and other heroes as well. We saw Pelican flex over to Genji at times against the Valiant, for example, instead of Tracer, Reaper at times as well. So it seems like Houston Outlaws are definitely playing a few more other heroes than
like trolling versus Valiant, or is that like a real thing?
Who knows? I mean, Valiant is not Valiant. I mean, would is
that their version of the Lifeweaver RuPaul or what?
I don't think that's a really necessarily like a troll per se, but I do agree that it's like obviously a much weaker team. I mean, I would currently, in my mind's eye, I currently have Valiant sitting around New York levels, right? So like, and Rain didn't necessarily troll against them. So, but that's just how I personally view it. I don't think New York has impressed me outside of like a couple key moments. They have looked good, they look solid, but I think Valiant has looked a lot better than I expected at times. With like the gap, like I think there's going to be an interesting lower mid-table team revolution this year in terms of like how the teams shake up. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how them. I think Rain is the safe pick. Rain is currently the safe pick because the Sombra seems to be firmly cemented as like you can always run the Sombra pretty safe. Plus they have like a pretty cool rotation where they can do Hawk to play D.Va on maps where they want to play D.Va, and I think it's a lot more effective currently than like what they're doing with Gargoyle on Houston. So and Donghack, I think, who is in my opinion, I was skeptical about Donghack coming in as well. Because I was like, I don't know how strong he's going to be. Like his pro-am, he like had moments, but like we'll see. And I think his Winston was really good during their matches this weekend too. So like that was another weakness for Rain where I was kind of worried about like how they're going to rotate it, and it seemed to be pretty cemented up. So,
I mean, admittedly, I thought that guy was potentially even going to be a liability, but he's much better than that. So I'll give him credit there.
Yeah, I feel like I personally almost have to apologize to Chio and Fielder a little bit because we've always hailed them as like great players, and a lot of people have been like they're elite, like they're the top of the game, whatever. I was always just like, yeah, but are they like really the best though? Like are Chio and Fielder like really like the best support players in the world? I wasn't quite able to like truly go there, but it like the performances we saw in week 1 from them, I'm just like, wow. That they're different. They're different. So
well, that's a you problem, honestly. I've been a fielder. I'm on the fielder train for a long time. So
yeah, that's why I had to apologize.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you owned up to it.
Yeah, I had to go out of my way to go out there and get fall to the ground. Yeah, I'm sorry. Moving on, the Houston Outlaws. Then they're the other fantastic looking team so far. Starting off 2-0 this week, and as you said, Avast, they had one match against the LA Gladiators where they just like completely stomped the LA Gladiators 3-0. And then they played against the Valiant there. So who knows how much trolling what was. Do you feel like this is kind of like we shouldn't get too hyped just yet because they are playing in a Winston meta? This is kind of like the best composition they might like ever play. Or do you like fully buy into the hype that just like, yeah, this team is legit. Like I have full complete trust in this team regardless of the meta.
I think even if this team is at their worst, right? Like they're probably a top 5, like in any meta, right? Like you have to agree, this is probably the best meta the Houston Outlaws can get. Absolutely. Like Happy can play Sombra, you can flex over the hit scan. Pelican shown with the addition of Tracer, like he can really flex anything. Like yeah, it's the best meta for Houston Outlaws, especially because Violet can play Brig, the Lucio, he can go to double flex. Like they have probably the best 5-player roster right now to play absolutely everything. And I think not enough people were giving these players the respect they deserve going into this season because, like, these are all players that we would have said are championship players on every roster, right? Remember, like, Pelicans Rookie of the Year, Phyllis just won Finals MVP, Shu Violet, we can't sing the praises of these guys enough over the last couple of years. And Happy, remember how excited everyone got when Happy originally went to the Gladiators where they just, like, acquired Happy and everyone was like, bro, what the fuck? Like, I feel like for some reason going into this season, maybe just because of how stacked the entire West was, we were a little down on them. But I don't know. I think this team will be top 5 in almost any meta.
I think we just got Pro-Am pilled, honestly. I think if it wasn't for that.
No, because I doubted them before Pro-Am, but that was on more of like, what is their overall flexibility, like meta-wise, going to be? And also, they're still essentially retaining the same coaching staff, right? And it's not like their coaching staff was bad. Like, Junkbuck, obviously, with this team, had good results with previous iterations of the roster of, like, Houston, but it never quite lived up to, like, their, like, where people thought they could potentially get to. Like, they never really felt like there was always gaps in that play. And, like, there was gaps in, like, and also in the sort of, like, their macro plays and, like, stuff how they took. And then they've added some extra flexibility issues potentially with, like, when we have, like, okay, like, how does Happy Pelican do that rotation, right, consistently? Like, how is that going to work? Pelican, I think, I agree. It's like, I was maybe a little down on the Pelican Tracer. And additionally, like, like, where did, like, with Fearless coming in, then they got a second tank with Gargoyle. So, like, I still don't know how Gargoyle is going to fit into this roster in terms of
that's my biggest worry.
Flexibility. Because what we've seen so far hasn't been particularly necessarily impressive from Gargoyle. Like, it hasn't been like anything that's like from when you have, it's a pretty stark difference, I think, from when Fearless is in and Gargoyle is in terms of like how the team is playing. Not that they're playing like bad or like significantly worse. I just think it's not quite the same tempo. So yeah, I think overall a lot of my fears were kind of paved over a bit, but I still need to see a long-term projection for Houston.
You have to remind people as well, like the rankings we did, that was an end of season ranking, not a preseason ranking.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And
so,
not even
like-
a week 1 or early stage.
And so, like, I think those criticisms are fair. And so right now, if we were to do a power ranking, not an end of season ranking, Houston would be right up there because this is like a really good meta for them. Gargoyle doesn't need to play because you can just permaforce Winston, it seems. Yeah, no doubt that they are one of the top teams currently.
Yeah, now it seems fine because obviously this is the meta they're in. I think my biggest concern with the Outlaws going into the season was that you looked at a team like Dallas Fuel last year, and they pretty much didn't play Fearless at all. He saw some play, especially during the June Joust summer. Yeah, June Joust, I think it was. They tried to do this like double flex support Winston composition, and we saw Fearless play some. But for the most part, Dallas Fuel, they just like played Hanbin because off tank was the way to go. And so Hanbin saw most of the playtime. And so going into this season, I guess, you know, my brain was a bit corrupted where I was like, well, how much playtime is Fearless going to see? It looks great now because we're in a main tank, Winston kind of meta. And, you know, even if we go to Wrecking Ball, we go to Reinhardt, like Houston Outlaws going to be fine. They're going to be great. But my big concern is the off tank role. And like when you stack up Gargoyle against other off tanks in their kind of tier, that's where my concern is. But there's no doubt right now Houston look incredible. So funnily enough, they are actually playing each other in a couple of weeks. We got May 12th, we got Houston Outlaws taking on the Atlanta Reign. So that's just week 3. So that's going to be a banger of a matchup. And next week as well, we have... Okay, I baited. Yeah, we got Atlanta Gladiators. Atlanta Reign versus LA Gladiators next week, week 2. So that's going to be a banger of a matchup as well. So I like the fact that we have like close matches between the bottom teams. We're like, oh, Valiant versus New York. Who knows? Valiant could get their first win. But then we also have like Houston versus Atlanta. And we're like, holy shit, this is like 2 amazing teams going head to head. So it feels like we have a lot of competition this year. Moving on from the 2 great teams. Moving on to the next one. Are you worried about the San Francisco Shock? They did win 1 game against the Toronto Defiant in a 5-map banger to start off the season. But then they took a brutal 3-0 loss against the Atlanta Reign. They just like fell flat on their face in this matchup right here. Are we overreacting, or do we feel like, they're starting slow? They're starting slow, guys. No worries, no concern. Don't panic just yet.
Why would there be need to panic? I mean, that'd
because I think some of us expected them to kind of go toe to toe with Atlanta Reign, and then instead they got absolutely fucking boomed.
I don't think it's a surprise that maybe like a 3-1 or something like that, but I don't think it's a huge surprise. I mean, there's more. We can get straight into the copium here because the excuse camp is.
Let's begin it.
Full in swing.
Rev it up the copium.
I'll do it.
Here
I'll
comes.
start it. I'll start the copium. Apparently, there's more housing issues still. So I don't know what's going on there. Maybe apparently they're playing from hotels. That's kind of whack.
I didn't see that. Yeah, what was the housing issue?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's a proper.
People said that they weren't ready, right? Like they got them here just so they're obviously
okay.
able to
So Andy Miller posted it. By the way, I've gotten some insight. Andy Miller posted a tweet being like, we have no practice, no scrims, $0, blah blah blah. He posted a tweet like that, and then Albert came on and said, they've been scribbing for like a week now, so it's not like we've had no practice. They've had less practice than a lot of the top teams, though. They've apparently had less practice because of travel stuff than a lot of the less teams going into week 1. So
there is that copy pasta going around, though. I saw that just briefly about all their excuses. Just like, visa issues, ping issues, housing issues, and just like at some point, like, come on, guys, like, fucking, can we play some Overwatch?
Well,
and just,
thing is,
like,
have issues though.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
but
that's
they got
the case.
issues.
Like they're not looking. They're realistically, I think Shock. I think the problem is we're dealing with a culture war right now.
That's true.
We're dealing with a culture war currently, and it's like the Shock. We have the Shock simps, which is like us essentially. And then people that are anti-establishment that are like, guys, I will never go
the
with
contrarians,
Shock.
the Shock contrarians.
Le Proper. They have Le Proper, the fraud on this team. Like, I will never allow myself to ever believe the Shock is good. They are too overhyped. One, like, realistically, okay, let's say even half of their issues are true. They beat Toronto Defiant in a very close game, mind you, and I think Defiant kind of threw. And also they got stomped by a team that had much more consistent housing, like a very, very, everyone always agreed was like a top 3 guaranteed team in our eyes. So like, And they still had good moments during it. They still had good moments. It's just clear they were very raw comparatively. So I don't think anyone should be worried after week 1 when they had a good showing, but they got 3-0'd by the Rain versus a team that, and then also won a close map 5 versus another very solid team. Like I don't think that, which granted that team threw, but I think that like that's like it's not there's not a 1-1 result after that week is not a bad week. It's not that bad of a week.
I don't think you knee jerk. I think like you can't like unless you're some Reddit contrarian. There's no way you knee jerk this like, oh no, Shocker done for, that kind of deal. Like we're not even beginning to talk about Toronto yet, or at least we're starting to get in there. I don't even think Toronto's 0-2 start is like disastrous either. So like you can't like knee jerk off of 1 week, even if you're Toronto with a pretty bad start. I wouldn't even knee jerk that. So I don't think it's an issue.
I agree.
At all.
It's week 1. There's a bunch of really good teams. Close lot to me in my eyes. If you're like in this top 6 to 8 teams of North America in particular, but like because of how stacked and solidified talent is, early losses and like losses to these teams like should not be catastrophic because like there are going to be teams that are really good that are still going to lose. This year. They're like, and I don't think it makes them necessarily bad teams because of how stacked the top level of teams are, right? Like it's just someone has to win, someone has to lose, and sometimes it could just be like this team showed up better on the match day, right? Like there's a lot of different things that go into this. Well, I think Shock, in particular on the Rain match, which I think is the more important match when you view their trajectory, it's clear that they have a very good raw core. It was just not nearly coordinated enough comparatively to Rain. Rain was like much better as a unit in that match. And also Vindime was feeding his brains out. So,
well, that's the question I want to ask. Are you worried about this backline?
I think it's too early to say that. And I also think that like overall you should expect like a Finn Vindime backline to be pretty good. So I'm not worried about that after essentially like, a kind of a weak weekend in particular by Vindime, realistically. Like I don't think that's that big of a deal,
Okay. I don't know. Like I rated Shock like second, I think, in my power rankings, and I'm like not confident in that. Going
after
into
one
this
week,
year. Like I think they're still going to be a great team. The quality, just the caliber of players they have is like the same as all these other top end teams, but they're starting very poor so far, and that just raises concerns. So it's like I think if I was like realistically putting like if I could adjust it after 1 week, I would put them closer towards like 4 or 5 right now because like. I have some legitimate concerns about this backline with like Finn and Vindame of just like they're both great players, right? But it feels like they're just struggling right now. And I think Junbin just hasn't impressed me at all so far from what we've seen from both the Pro-Am and this opening weekend. I feel like he's really struggling to find anything. And I don't think it's like, obviously he's a great mechanical player, but they just don't seem to be on the same page right now. And like, I think these things will get ironed out. Maybe a better meta will come along for these guys. And I think they're still going to be competitive at the top end. And on any given meta, they'll be strong. But I was very confident. I bought into the rookie hype. And like, we know how great these players are going to be. They're going to be in this league for a long time. But with how stacked Houston Outlaws are playing, Florida Mayhem are playing, Atlanta Reign are playing right now, I don't think I can put San Francisco Shock there right now. And I think we need to potentially start like realigning expectations for this team.
I think the real test is seeing Shock play against not the number 1 team in the world, and then another team alongside Toronto's kind of level. Like you need to see them versus a Glads, you need to see them versus a Houston, maybe a Florida, something like that. Because I think versus Atlanta, it's easy to look bad versus Atlanta when Atlanta have right now the best support line in the world. I think we can all agree on that one.
Also,
Lip
they were
is playing
playing
on a Sombra
so
meta.
much Diva into the Sombra. They were playing so much Diva into the Lip Sombra, and it was getting farmed.
Can you actually explain to me why you think Junbin is playing a lot of Diva over the Winston? Because like Junbin is a great Winston, right? But he doesn't really seem to want to play.
This could just be Krusty Cracked Pipe. I'm not even joking. Legitimately.
Why does Scott, you've moved to your stream starting soon. Graphic.
I knocked over my stream deck. Oh, I see what would have happened. I'm on my
stream starting soon.
Starting soon, guys. Starting soon.
Just programming my stream. Yeah, what's up? Sorry, but I accidentally knocked over my.
It seems like a legitimately like incorrect meta read, and does that not come from the coaching end or what? Am I crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like probably, right? Like, but that's sort of the question. I'm like, do you think this isn't Junbin not feeling comfortable in Winston? This is more of a crusty like thing. Like, I'm asking you.
He's a main tank player. He
Winston Ball, those are like his two heroes. There's zero chance he feels uncomfortable with Winston. There's no world that's the truth.
Yeah.
So
I
think
guess
it's like a limit
D.Va's
test
better. Then why
of
don't they
things.
play Max then, right? Because like, or do they want to have that flexibility to go back to the Winston?
could be the flexibility to go between them. I don't know, man. Like,
Dude, I did love that where like they go out to Shambali and like Max would come in to play off tank over jumping, and then I was like, or main tank I should say, not off tank. He'd come in to play Winston over jumping, and I was like what the fuck is going on here? So I feel like it. Like I said, I don't think anyone should be overreacting to any matches necessarily. Like it's the one thing to say for Shock is that they're raw. They're very raw right now. Like they're just, it's clear their coordination is not at the same level of the other teams, but the talent, like they have the raw skill to make it work. Like there were moments where they should have like gotten, they even should have lost more, but they just had players clutch the fuck up. You know, it's too early. Too early, I think, to overreact to the Shock, especially when one of the teams they played was potentially the best team in the world.
We'll also say that neither Proper or he's saying historically, having seen like their entire careers in contenders, neither of them were like super prominent on Sombra. Like in Sombra metas, even on the original lineups with the original DPS, because you have to remember, he's saying and Proper have never played together. They were on separate teams their entire contenders career. The other player on the team was playing Sombra. So for example, when Heesang was on Talon, Ada was the Sombra player. When Proper was on O2, Merit was a Sombra player. It wasn't these guys. So neither of them are super well known for Sombra. We're like in a pretty heavy Sombra meta versus a guy like Lip. I mean, I think you just get diffed.
Yeah, so looking at their future schedule for the San Francisco Shock here, they do actually get a break in week 2, so we won't be seeing them this upcoming week, so they can get back to practice and get in the right shape. And then for week 3, they're playing the Washington Justice and they're playing the New York Excelsior. So 2 must-wins.
They should win, They
Okay,
should win.
if they don't go 2-0 after that, then you
it's
can be
concerned.
concerned. At that point, I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, now you can ring the sirens. But yeah.
And
I
then
think
we
it's
get
definitely
into,
too easy to ring the sirens. I do want to make that clear. It's like I'm not out here being like Shock suck, like, and we need to like start panicking about this roster.
No,
I just think
it's just, you know, me being a show host, speaking hyperbole and just like, whoa, oh my god, fuck, it's over. They went 1-1 in the opening week.
people act like saying like Shock is like 4th in NA is like the worst thing that's ever happened to the San Francisco Shock, and that they're never going to recover from this, right? Like people need, like, it's like the West is so stacked right now that it's like it's hard to put these teams anywhere, and I think you have to really like use like slight things against them. So it's gonna be a great season for that reason.
In week 4 though, we do get San Francisco versus Houston. So
Ooh, that'll be a good one.
Gonna be a nasty match.
that is
hopefully.
that is a true test. 3 weeks from now, on May 20th, we'll see.
There is so much time for the Krusty crack pipe to do things. Okay, guys, just let Krusty come up with some of the just crack. He's already hit you with the max main tank so early. He's already hit you with that. You've already gotten a little taste, just a little bit. That's like the feeder packet they give to get the junkies hooked immediately, and I'm like, oh shit, like that's some crack. That's some good stuff that Krusty's about to do. I'm gonna be in an abandoned, dilapidated building on a worn-out mattress in no time, 100%. Just over there, like I'm waiting for the next hit. Give me the next hit, Krusty, please.
Oh god, the visual representation is incredible. Thank you, Avast. Thank you. I do want to say as well, them playing like a round of Junker Queen, just like and you know, playing some Armata as well on races. It's just like, okay, like at least they're in like the current meta, like the scrim meta, because it did seem like we saw more Junker Queen this past week as well. So like they're kind of on the scrim meta right now. They're not like out of it or you know, too far off. So I bet they'll improve in a couple of weeks. Moving on then, I am actually scared of bringing up this topic. The fans have been craving it. They're ravenous, absolutely ravenous about this one. The Guangzhou Charge.
Oh boy.
Dallas Fuel get absolutely dominated in the first match of the year. And Custa is looking, you know, real proud of himself right now. Meanwhile, we hyped him up. We thought it'd be all smooth out from here for the Dallas Fuel.
Time to cope.
All the Guangzhou Charge fans.
We're gonna put 2 cope segments back to back. Damn, there's a lot of coping going on.
I've got one question. Can I start with one serious question?
You just take over, Abel. Take over.
When you woke up, how full was your inbox when you woke up? after
Me?
Guangzhou beat Dallas?
Oh, bro,
How full
dude,
was your
I got people
many pings
messaging
did
me
you
like, yo, Avril said Jimmy fucks on broadcast. I got people saying like, yo, Piggy diff. I got people saying like Dallas Dallas haters getting into my inbox. Like, yeah, like it was like a while, but you know, like you know, it's one game, guys. Let's calm down.
I feel like
Yes.
every time Guangzhou wins, your inbox is full. Am I lying?
yeah.
You
Yeah,
wake up
hey,
just like
you know?
100 DMs, like.
Jimmy is intertwined with my life at this point. It feels like
He actually is.
I'm gonna invite him to the wedding. Actually, I gotta reach out.
I think
man.
my biggest frustration waking up that day as someone who ranked Guangzhou pretty low and someone who ranked Dallas Fuel pretty high is that I woke up to our WhatsApp group and Avril is just like, you guys are not gonna believe this. Like,
I think I said
APAC
NA's not ready. NA's
NA
not
is
ready.
not ready or something like that. Yeah, and I'm just like, what the hell just happened? And I go online and like I look up the result or whatever, and I'm like, holy shit, Guangzhou just dominated Dallas Fuel 3-0. And so I'm like, okay, well, I gotta get ready for the show. You know, I gotta shower, I gotta eat breakfast, I gotta get in the car, I gotta drive to the studio, we gotta rehearse all that. So I don't have a way to like watch the match. And so I'm like, okay, I'll go to Reddit and I'll go into the post-match thread and I'll be like, oh, surely people are going to be like, wow, this player popped off. Wow, that was such a big difference for Guangzhou in this match. Oh, it doesn't seem like Dallas Fuel, like they're really good for this meta. Like, I got a good little taste of it. And it's just like, Jimmy just shat on your team. Your shitty team. Jimmy Div. Oh my God. Guangzhou charge on the fucking next thing coming. You have no idea this team is dominant. MCD is the worst player ever. Dallas Fuel suck ass. Washed up. Oh my God, this team sucks. And I'm like, holy I have no idea what happened in this match. I have no idea what happened in this match. All I know is that people love Jimmy. They're just Jimmy all caps in fucking headline letters. And just like, Guangzhou charge, shit on your shitty team. That's all I know about this match. That's all I know.
So you went to the platform with the most hyperbolic takes. That was a good idea.
It was just comment about just Guangzhou charge or the best fucking team and they're shitting on them. It's unbelievable.
I want to put on record, and you know, people can check this. You can go back to the rankings episode. I defended the charge, and I was like, bro, I think we're rating them too low.
We
yeah,
both.
Like,
I defended the charge too.
Bro,
I put
what is
charge.
this backpedaling
give me
that
a
I'm
high
hearing
five.
This isn't
right now?
back. This isn't
What is
backpedaling.
this shit?
This is not backpedaling. Avril and I both
you can
said
check the
that
episode. You can
charge was
check the
going to be.
episode.
Now, I'm going to put a
defended them.
qualifier. I'm going to put a qualifier. I did not think they were going to dominate the fuel in this fashion. I'm going to put a qualifier there. I did think we underrated charge, and I reflected that in my power rankings. I did, however, not think they were going to fuck the fuel like this. However, now I'm spinning up the cope machine. Activate. I'm going to spin up the cope. I'm spinning. Okay, now you have to understand. Ding, ding, ding. There it is. It's done. It's done heating up. Now the cope. Let me get the cope out of the microwave. So you have to see that the Fuel never wins their opening matches. Okay, cope number one. Cope number one. Fuel does not win opening matches. Cope number one. Fuel does not win opening match. Cope number two. Something Piggy. I don't think Piggy's the same human being. I think whenever Piggy lost all that weight, they replaced Piggy with a new Piggy. I think it was like a deep fake Piggy clone. Because
you
that
Rick and Morty episode where you just shed all the negativity and it just becomes a different person.
That could be.
Like,
this could be the pause Piggy. This could be the pausey Piggy right there. 100%.
62 kgs is a whole human being with, you know, so he actually just shed an entire person.
Got rid of everything, all of the bad energy in him. He could have gotten rid of when he shed a whole human being from himself, because like that is like he did not play main tank like that before. Or like Piggy legitimately looked pretty good on it, and that was one of my biggest concerns for charge, because for me holding back charge to be like entering that top tier was like, is Piggy going to be a tank that can be that flexible? And he was.
My question on that one is then, why did you believe Hanbin could do it? Is it just because it's Hanbin and he
Hanbin's already sort of done it. Hanbin's played Winston and looked pretty decent on it, you know?
Okay, that makes sense. You have that.
Yeah, so like so that's my cope. My cope there is that Dallas doesn't win opening matches, and also I was not expecting Piggy to release the anti-version of Piggy and thus become the greatest version of himself we've ever seen. He's powered up by the fucking yellow sun of our ecosystem, of our fucking universe, or not universe but galaxy.
The solar system.
Or solar system. That's the
Shrink
one.
it down a little. Yeah, there you go.
Solar system. Well, sun's in our universe technically, and our galaxy. But yeah, you're right. Solar system. That's what I meant to say.
So yes, go on.
No, I'm just like I'm genuinely just like shell shocked still from this result. Like I don't know what happened. Like there was some grenade that like just fell off to me, like next to me, and just went off, and I'm just sitting here, just like what happened? Like what happened, Avril?
Dude, I'm
how
sitting
is
in
this
that
possible?
game. I'm sitting in that game casting it, and I think I legitimately said this in the cast, and no, it wasn't me swearing. It was when I said, if you were to turn off the HUD right now and turn off all the player names, you would think that Dallas Fuel were the team dominating, but it's actually the Guangzhou Charge. And it's like, it doesn't make any sense. But at the same time, you know, this is what I said when we did the rankings episode as well. Guangzhou Charge started to really get their shit together at the end of the season last year. And they started to look really good, and all the players working well together. Mechanically, they were strong as well. Piggy, I feel like, is just a super slept-on player still. And, you know, they kept their team together. And there's a bit of like, I don't know, the culture war for this year is, oh, if you kept your entire team together from last year, it must be bad. Because look at Vegas and look at London. Except the difference there was like, I don't know, like I feel like Guangzhou's just different.
Well, the difference there is that also, I mean,
Guangzhou
Vegas was
year.
ass. London, there was a real reasoning for that, like, but also it was meta stuff. Charge was actually like good and sort of kept their team together. I don't think we compare.
They
Vegas
kept their
and
team together
Charge.
for good reasons. Charge kept their team together for good reasons. Like, hey, we should keep it together because this is working. So let's keep it working.
I think the fact that they announced it so late, I don't know. To me, it just felt like, oh, you know, with all the APAC, the license and the license thing and everything going on, just like, oh, they're probably just like renewing because it's the easiest thing, and you know, minimum contracts, all that stuff. So I kind of slept on them, I think, because they were so quiet in the off season.
Yeah, I mean, they just didn't need to do anything, and you see why now. And I think, I don't know, thinking about a main tank meta with Winston on, you're thinking it was Piggy going to be good. That's a fair comment. So I think that's fair enough. But we're really seeing now, like, dude, Piggy was legitimately better than Harbin in this series. You go back and watch, you'll see what I saw. He actually was, even in the Sigma, legitimately,
he was good.
Oh my god!
I thought this map, surely Fuel in here because Harbin Sigma is really good, right? Piggy Sigma was still better here, in my opinion, in my honest opinion. Somehow he diffed Harbin on all three maps, all three of them.
Well, I
can't explain it.
But I think we're looking at this too narrow of like Hanbin versus Piggy. Like I think there's not
more
enough
there, sure.
and I think that's the big thing about the Guangzhou Charge and why this team is sort of underrated. Like people, I think, were looking at it and been like, oh, Guangzhou Charge didn't take anything and their record was trash last year. But like the team at the end of last year was very different to the team that started the year, and Guangzhou Charge were playing really quite well. And I think if you look at every player individually, they're very good. And I think even if you know, like
spawn camping,
I don't. The big thing is I don't think anyone has probably put Guangzhou Charge where they potentially might be right now. Like
Bad Pachimari.
Well, where did Bad Pachimari put them? Like, did they put them top 10 in like the world? Because like with how they performed, they potentially, like, obviously this is just like one weekend, one match, like that kind of thing. Right now, you could probably say they should be in that tier with the top end teams, right? And like, you know, they could compete with a lot of those different guys, right? So it's like, the question for me is not, oh shit, they beat Dallas, they're better than Dallas. My question is like, how good is this Guangzhou Charge team really? And we don't know, right? Like, we got a long fucking way to go.
I had them at 11th technically in mine, so one outside top 10. I had them at 11th when I did mine. So because, like I said, I was still doubting the Piggy factor, but Piggy has made me believe. What's happened is what must have happened. Piggy shed the shadow monster that lives inside of us all, and it went into Edison. And that is what's happened.
My God.
And that's what's happened.
Oh,
they've cursed Edison with the Piggy shadow monster that he has released, and thus we need some sort of shamanistic ritual to cleanse them, and then the fuel will be back. Okay, that's my other cope. My other cope is that he was wicked magic, and they have now cursed Edison. So
I also think, and this is probably not a big surprise, but Guangzhou Charge's backline is insane. Like, better than Dallas Fuel's.
it is good. It is good.
And people are saying, do they have maybe the best support line in APAC? And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, fuck, probably. Actually, yes.
I would take Monk over far away. I would take Monk over far away.
Like, Monk Lungsa could be good.
I think
Monk is a
I
better
think,
Chinese flex support, I think. Than
I think
Far
Farway and Monk are kind of interchangeable, and Team China agrees because they got both those guys on, and we'll
Yeah.
see who they think is better when it comes down to starting players later on.
We
But,
can't be using World Cup teams as our basis for validation.
okay, my point is, like a shot. But we can agree that Xerneas is definitely like the better player versus Langsa, and the reason why Xerneas is on charges, A, because they retained his contract, and B, I don't think Ray wants to work with Xerneas. But that aside, due to the fact that Xerneas exists on one team and he doesn't exist on the other team, I think the Xerneas Farway duo is
Dude, what
better.
a fucking revenge arc for Xerneas is going to be if they just dominate Spark during the
That'd be crazy.
Overwatch League.
By the way, they play next week. The Joedown is next week.
That would actually be insane.
That's gonna be a banger, actually.
I think that's gonna be the best match.
If I win that match, I'm sending like I don't know what I'm gonna send some sort of gift to Ray, like with a little card on it, being like, I'm gonna do like I'm gonna do the bin best. Thanks for dropping me.
Oh, we didn't bring up that tweet. That tweet was one of the most insane tweets I've
savage.
seen Overwatch League in a while.
Like,
that
that's
was
like
too
legitimate
That
drama.
tweet's been,
We talk about a
that
lot of
tweet's been cooking for
ticky-tacky
2
shit.
years.
Yeah.
He's had that cooking. He's had
Sorry,
that one cooking.
we brought this out of nowhere, Solomon. But that Ben Best tweet.
Well, aren't we gonna cover it during the Vegas thing probably?
Yeah, let's finish on the charge. We'll finish on the charge.
Well, I if you guys have anything more on charge.
And the last thing I'll say is Choice of One's a monster. That guy's insane.
Yeah, but we've been known.
We knew
We've
that.
been
We
known.
already knew that.
he
We
was a
already
good
knew
player,
that.
right?
Yeah. The thing is, nothing about Charge. The end of last year, they were good. They were looking good. Their roster overall looked really good. It was literally just for me a question mark about Picky, about like how would this team function. And if Picky has a really good main tank, then this team is immediately shooting up the rankings like 5-6 slots from when I had them, like immediately. So
All right. Where do you want to go next? We have one more match I want to cover in the APAC, but you said you wanted to go towards the Bembes thing.
Well, what's
the Vegas.
what's
No, we
the
can
other
do
APAC?
yeah, what's
the other APAC thing?
All right. So Seoul Dynasty, they win the inaugural Seoul rivalry here, taking on
Soul Bowl.
the Seoul
Soul
Infernal.
Bowl.
The Soul Bowl.
it was a good bowl, but
Soul Bowl. I look, when I woke up, AVRL, I'm not gonna lie. My tummy was feeling good because I felt like I was the only one who was hyping up the
My
Dynasty over
tummy was
Inferno.
feeling
you
good.
should not. No.
A warm,
You should
warm
not walk
sensation
away
in my
from
tummy.
this with that. You should not walk away from this.
And
with
other
that.
children's
It's
books
so
by
good.
Reinforced.
I was the only one who put respect on Prophet and Void. I said they could do it, and they did it. They beat them 3-2 in a pretty. Yeah, I mean that shot by
However-
M3 that kind of like defines it. Like I was scrolling through the vault.
Infernal trolled this match. Infernal trolled
You guys watch
this
match
match.
5?
Dynasty also didn't even know how to play their comp half the time. They just killed people. Like
It was so good.
Like it was just
what you want to see from the
this was
Dynasty.
a
Great
this was a
stuff.
Soul Bowl. This was a Soul Bowl if I've ever seen one.
I don't think you can look at this match and be like, wow, both these teams are really good. It was such a close match. I think there was a little bit of trolling from both teams, but like, I got to go on with my backpedaling for this episode of like, Prophet, I questioned your intentions and your quality of play, and that won't happen again. I feel like I owe you an apology.
What do you mean his
Prophet
intentions?
Okay, if Seoul Dynasty don't have Profit in this series, like they probably get 3-0. Like Profit was like absolutely savage on this Tracer, and like it shouldn't surprise anyone. It surprised me, but it shouldn't surprise anyone. He's still one of the greatest.
I'm sorry,
the only
Custa,
reason
but
the
that has to be
Dynasty
one of the
is
worst takes of the offseason.
Well, okay,
Like,
in my
I'm not saying
defense,
it's the
we
worst,
have
but
a
one
long
of.
season, and you need to
Wait,
have
did you wait? I don't remember
something.
this take. Wait, when did you start? When did you question Profit?
I
Big
was
T.
my fear for Prophet going into this season was that he wasn't going to have the same drive that he's had in the past, and I was like, maybe he's just like not going to be as on form as we know him. He was still going to be a great player, but like, was he going to be one of the best DPS players in the world? I wasn't sold it.
So you just chose to wake up one day and just hate.
Yeah, I chose to wake up.
By the way, Johnny, you should be a lot more mad at Scott for this because people gave you shit for that Void take and people just letting Scott slide on this. So I mean,
No, okay, there is a difference between the Void take. Johnny just said Void was a bad player. Like, he didn't think Void was very good. That is not my take. I did not say that about Prophet. I knew Prophet was going to be great. The question was how great was the man?
do a review of
I've
our
been
worst
fucking
take.
living that take for 3 years. That was 3 years ago, and it's the only take that people associate me with. Like, it was a mistake. It happened. Please move on. I fucked up, okay? I fucked up, and please stop tweeting at me about it.
I feel like we should do an episode one time where we just go over our worst takes.
We got
I
a
think that
couple
would be
of
a,
bad ones.
I think
We
that
all
would be
got
a
some
really
doozies.
funny episode. It's just like all the takes that like were just so totally wrong.
He's taking out his mic at this point.
He's killed his
He's
mic.
literally in response
Did
to
it
this.
break off?
He's killed his fucking mic.
Let me say while he's fixing that. Let me say this. Oh man, he's not
What
gonna be
did
full
he
for the
do?
rest of this.
Be able to get that one back.
Let me say this about the Soul Ball while we wait for Johnny to do his magic there. If you watch map 5, you saw Infernal do one of the most monumental throws where 2 rounds out of the 3 they led by, one of them was a 99 to 0
It was like
lead, and the other one was
+%
and the other one was an 86 to 0 lead, and they threw
Yeah.
both of them.
just
It's
a
unbelievable
gargantuan.
throw.
Okay, but okay. Here's the thing, like, who trolled for the Infernal? Like, who do you think was like throwing the game? I actually just think it was Seoul Dynasty actually started executing good dives and playing it well. And Bella's has apparently a pocket doomfist that's like incredible, right? Like, I don't think Infernal like hard trolled this like things. They definitely didn't clutch up. Like, they didn't play well to close out the series. But I don't think anyone like, it's not like they just started like fumbling around, people just dying. I think Seoul just did a great job of like Prophet and Prophet just did a great job of like just punishing Infernal for stepping up.
I think I talked to Hexagrams about this, and he gave me some words of wisdom. He said some teams just have this bad energy that surrounds them no matter what happens.
It's the piggy
And
shadow
welcome back.
person. Over
And
there.
so, you know, the Fusion, the Philadelphia Fusion, bad mojo just follows this team. So
Once
it's
cursed, you stay cursed.
the anti-clutch, man. The anti-clutch happened on Oasis, and they
the piggy shadow.
they fumbled 2 humongous leads.
I think that's I mean, even if you're not necessarily playing, having such a huge lead in time, so you can take so many. You only have to win one fight, right? Essentially, you have to win one fight when you're at like that 90+% range on control. Like, I don't know. That is a fumble in of itself, even though technically they might not have played like badly, but like,
yeah, it's definitely a fumble, but
you
people
know your
acting
win
like
condition.
they threw the game. Like,
I mean,
that's...
I would say that, like, you know, having that much time and knowing you only have to win one fight, that's equivalent. Like, to me on control, it's not as bad, but it's essentially equivalent in my eyes of like having like 2 to 3 minutes to just get a tick on a first point of like a hybrid.
And it's twice. It wasn't once. The 2
Yeah.
times in a row, guys.
Yeah, it was twice in a row. Like that requires an immense. I mean, like, and it doesn't mean that Seoul didn't play well. It just means like, or I can't say Seoul didn't mean that in Dynasty didn't play well. It just meant that like Infernal could not properly get their ults. You know, they're good at ult economy, couldn't get a game plan going at all for like all the time they had, and that's pretty rough when you're looking to compete at the top, like be one of the best teams in the region, you know, like that's just something that can't happen. You have to be able to get that tick, you know, or get that one cap when you have 4+ fights to just get one good fight.
Quick thing to note before we move on from the Seoul rivalry here as well, because speaking of like city rivalries, there was one moment this weekend where the LA Gladiators got 3-0 by the Houston Outlaws, and the Valiant were playing the Vancouver Titans in the match following. And I just really wanted Valiant to take one map from Vancouver, so Valiant would have been a better LA team, and that would have just like made my weekend as well. I think Valiant is the best team in LA. But yeah, there we go. Let's head into the power rankings real quick. I actually have a meeting to be at, so we gotta rush this bad boy on because we have a lot to get through still. And if you're worried that we didn't talk about your team, we didn't talk about Washington Justice, Ronald Spitfire, all of these teams, we got predictions later on, and I'm hoping we can kind of chat those teams in a shorter form when we do the predictions later. And if we don't get to it, then you know it's a long season, and eventually we'll get to your team. So hopefully you're not too upset that we didn't talk about your favorite team. Here we go. But power rankings then. Now, this is not like the end of season prediction power rankings. This is just right now, week 1, going into week 2. How do we rate these teams? And we split up the region because that's the only freaking way it makes sense to do this to begin with. So, Solomon, let's get right to it. Vegas number 13. Boom.
Boom.
I would
That's a
actually.
one.
Can we make a special? Like, can we make a special 14? Vegas. I would.
Oh,
Vegas is so bad.
That's
I don't
BM,
even.
guys.
I mean,
Bro,
honestly.
no, okay. Here's the thing. It is BM, but this team, like
This team.
I came in with
Oh,
no
man.
expectations, and I was really disappointed.
This team
in
physically hurts. So
Yeah,
much.
like,
it physically
really,
is
like-
painful. It's like watching a guy eat it like an 18 quadrillion Scoville unit hot pepper paste.
Is this power ranking with them at 14 more or less BM than the tweet from Bimbest.
The Bimbest tweet, at least, the Bimbest tweet is like, also, the best part about the Bimbest tweet is that he was like, no drama. Immediately start. Was that him or was it Get Amazed? That says,
no,
like,
Get Amazed. Get Amazed was
drama.
like very calm, just like them cutting me. I'm very grateful. It
He
made
was
me
like-
a better
but
person.
one
Made
of
me
them- one of them was
appreciate
like,
And
this.
then
no
Ben
drama.
Best came with a sledgehammer.
No, but one of them literally put in the tweet.
I was
like, it was
waiting
Get
this
Amazed.
karma for so long. Mad respect to their players, but this is what you deserve when you lie about players, trash them, ruin careers, and act like an angel in social media. Trying to take the lead alone and fire the people for their influence is so selfish. Paris Eternal will always be in my heart. Players who gave everything for their mates, their coaches, and especially their fans. I mean, just,
Want to thank Drew McCall real quick?
yeah,
Thank you, Drew McCourt.
yeah.
Thank you, Drew McCourt, for buying this franchise and probably literally forgetting it exists and not even shepherding it in any capacity.
Yeah, the
so.
last part, I don't know if I like the last part, but the rest
That's
of it.
like thanking
pretty fun.
Stan Kroenke when they had gladiators. Like, it doesn't make any sense, like, at all. Like,
Thank
that-
you, Robert Kraft.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
That was a doomfist punch and a half on social media.
I mean, like,
That,
I understand what they're going, because, like,
Yeah.
realistically, dropping him and then this is the level of team that you have is like, I mean, really, like, come on, like honestly, like, I get it. I just found it funnier that Get Amazed was like, no drama here, and then immediately starts drama. Immediately does a drama post.
Yeah.
So,
Get Amazed tried to be the adult in the room. So props for that. Move on. I'm a better place now. Appreciate my opportunity here.
I
now,
did
so.
respect that he called it like, I'm glad you getting rid of me like inspired me to do better, because that was
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
low point of my life was in Vegas Eternal. Dropped me.
Wow. Vegas 14. I don't think we need to spend too much time
No,
on that.
move on.
People trolled with Lifeweaver against Vegas. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, move on with that one.
Christ. All right, next up. Valiant. I'm thinking Valiant.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know where you're coming at from this.
There's
Okay.
one other team.
We're better than New York. Like, yeah, I'll put them in the same tier. I'll put New York.
I
and
think
Valiant in the same tier, but I don't know where you're getting this from.
I don't something like, so here's the thing. It's like, yes, do I think Fitz is a better player than Seeger? Yes. But I've been kind of impressed with the tempo. Like, they got 3-0'd in their matches. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not like they did particularly well, but like, they had some tempo to it, and like, Crawley kind of impressed me more than I thought with like some of the plays he was doing. Like, but I think it's a safe bet to put Valiant 12th. I think it's a safe bet to put Valiant 12th and then New York after. But something's there.
I
Something's
think
there.
New York lost to harder teams.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I think something's there for Valiant. Like, before, I was like, I don't think they're ever gonna really make it out of like the second worst team spot. Now I'm like, maybe they
Yeah,
could.
I agree with you. There's upside. I just don't think there's enough right
No,
now
not right
to
now.
put them
Yeah,
above
sure.
New York.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's put
What
New
if
York
I
above.
told you that on Saturday we're getting Valiant against Excelsior?
I would tell you that's amazing toilet bowl. I would say that's one of the cleanest toilet bowls.
Giga banger.
That match will determine whether these teams are 11th or 12th for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Because we'll never be able to like, Valiant took a map of Atlanta, so therefore, blah, blah,
By the
blah.
way, the week after week 3, Vegas versus New York.
Wow.
We're pretty
Dude,
sure New
honestly,
York
I
wins,
don't
right?
even
But
think
still.
that's gonna be close.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm not as excited as I thought I was going to be.
I still
I
think
I
it's
want
want
to
to
be
be excited. I
excited.
want to be excited.
I just can't. Like, literally, as soon as I see the Vegas name on my screen, it's like how I saw any Justice match previously, like old Justice. I was like, I just start drinking. Can't do it. I just can't do it, man. This team is so much worse than Justice 2, because Justice, at least, there was like, okay, like, this is, I mean, it's like watching, it's like, that movie, the book The Road, where it's just the most depressing post-apocalyptic book ever written. Probably not, but it's by Cormac McCarthy. Essentially, let me tell you, this is the digital Overwatch, like, this is the digital esport version of The Road. This is like watching the most depressing, like, end of civilization, like, holy shit, like. And the thing is, once again, there's players aren't all. Luke Mino and Rakdak got a 5K. They wiped the enemy team and lost the fucking round. They lost the round on control, and their supports killed 5 people. Like, how is that even possible? I just don't even understand. Oh my. Okay, we gotta move on. I'm gonna be.
Yeah.
So New York 11. New York 11.
Let me quickly just like Vegas schedule moving forward. So they're not playing week 2. Week 3, Vegas are playing London and New York. Okay, so 2 matches that are not winnable, but they quote unquote competing with those. Week 4 and 5, we got Vegas versus Boston, Vegas versus Gladiators, Vegas versus Atlanta, Vegas versus Toronto. It's just,
Dude, and the pressure's on the pressure. The Vegas is like Shanghai Dragons from season 1. Like if you lose, like you are fucked. Like you are so fucked if you lose.
Oh god.
To them, like no one will let you forget it.
Oh Christ. Oh my god. All right. Moving on. 10th spot. I feel like this one is a little bit contested. Where are we going with this one?
I think it kind of has to be the London Spitfire.
I think it's London.
Right?
Yeah, I think it's London. Yeah, I feel pretty.
Yeah, lost
strongly about
3-1 to Washington and lost 3-1 to Boston.
I feel pretty strongly about London going there. The London clearly, because also like their best looks still are the looks where they don't play Winston, and right now it's like a heavy Winston meta currently. Yeah. So like it's not, and they have like good ideas. I don't think their ideas are necessarily bad. They have some good playmakers and such. Like it's clear that their team right now is not built for meta, and also the level of squads have just leveled up so much too.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just waiting for like the upset machine to keep going and London to get some wins here, because I actually have belief in their team. I actually think they'll do great, and Lethal had some like really good moments as well as a rookie in this lineup, and like I have trust in this franchise. I'm just waiting for them to get going really, because it's a bad start.
Orienting towards a position like they started to experiment with the Junker Queen a little bit more. I think there's something there potentially with those Junker Queen combos.
Yeah.
And maybe like there's something that could occur with that. I think
you just can't play that everywhere though. It's a very specific counter comp, and that's the issue. It's not versatile enough to like win you a whole series.
Yep. Okay. Next up, I'm guessing Vancouver Titans, guys.
The real question is, how far down do you put Toronto for going 0-2?
Oh, I mean,
probably
Vancouver.
Not
Vancouver.
Like
they lost 3-1 to the Florida Mayhem, and they beat the Valiant 3-0. Meanwhile, Toronto Defiant went to map 5 against the Shock, and they lost map 4 against Gladiators.
My pick for 9th. This should be Justice, in my opinion.
Oh,
I think it should be Justice.
I think I agree with that as well.
Justice 3-0'd Valiant, and they lost a map to London, and they 3-1 London.
Yeah.
While like Titans, I would argue, had a bit of a harder schedule. And because they took a map off Mayhem. Now, granted, like there was some trolling. I think there was a little bit of trolling, but I overall, I still also rate the overall squad. In my opinion, I think the overall squad, like just looking at on paper, I still have the Titans above Justice too. It's just Justice in Pro-Am impressed. But also Justice started playing a lot more of like this mirror. Mirror was playing a lot more for Binbest. So they didn't really, in these matches, they didn't play the Binbest Winston very much like at all. Like they were playing mirror. So
kind of like.
Sure, but it's like, but if Winston's so good and you look so good at Pro-Am, why are you not playing it, right? Like there must be like a scrim thing or like, you know, something going on. Alfie still looked great. I also think like, but like overall, like I was very unimpressed with Justice in this.
It's the question is like, who wins now? Washington versus Vancouver. They play each other. Like, what is the result?
I think it's impossible to tell. Titans. Like, I legitimately think it's impossible to tell with both of these teams. Like, I think they're both around this spot. I think you could literally make these two interchangeable. I'm with Avast that I personally am higher on this Vancouver Titans team. Like, I think Washington are like, obviously Alfie is just going fucking crazy, and that's great for them. But I agree that, you know, they took a map off of Mayhem, which is like a really fucking strong team right now. So like, I don't know. I just see more upside in Vancouver right now.
Yeah, I think I'll side with the Titans here then.
All right. Sounds like the team agrees. Got Washington at 9th and the Vancouver Titans at 8th. Boom. All right. Now, well, actually not now. I feel like 7 is kind of clear. It's kind of all right. The top 5 will be disgusting, but at 7th, I think we're leaning either Toronto or Boston Uprising then.
Yeah.
I personally, so here's my pick it's controversial for some people. I currently believe Toronto's a better team than Boston.
I agree.
It's the one map lost to London, isn't it?
Yeah.
It kind of is, yeah. Like I put this as the same thing as Vancouver and Washington, of like both of them don't really have, you know, great matches to sort of like compare against each other because they're kind of like just weird.
This is where the viewers get extremely mad that a team that went 0-2 is higher than a team that went 2-0.
Who did they play? They played Gladiators and Shock. Right? Like,
and they should have, and they were so close to winning the Shock match. Like they 100% could have been 1-1. And like the Glads match, they oh no, I'm thinking of a different match. Never mind. I was thinking of the shoe clutch. That's not.
Yeah. And like Boston played London and New York. Like, how do you gauge how good these teams are? Yeah, of course, Boston went 2-0. They played much weaker teams compared to Toronto. But I think Toronto being competitive with Shock, I think it was a good look. They were very competitive with the Gladiators. Like, I think.
You sold me. You sold me. I'm on board. I'm on board.
Also, I think overall, I still think holistically, from what we've seen so far, the Toronto seem a slightly more well-rounded. And also, when they have Hydron in, Hydron is a force. Hydron is a fucking force, and like Boston, I think are trying to force like they're trying to do like this decay. It's like they're doing a lot of like decay. They didn't play as much Bird Ring time around. They put a lot more decay fucking striker. Yeah, and I don't know if that was
there's not enough hit scan. I mean, you're playing what they playing.
Exactly, but the point there is that like I think it looked a little flat with what they were trying to do. It didn't look like, not that Striker's necessarily like bad at like Sombra and stuff, but like it just looked a little flat comparatively when they played with Bird Ring. So like they didn't have a lot of this explode. Like Decay still looked explode. Decay Smurf looked really good when they dove, but outside of that, I was like, I didn't see there was a lot happening. I think Izzyaki, besides him literally jumping off, like falling off the map once, like their rotations are weird. Their player rotations are weird. Like they're playing Perma Ana a lot and they're not playing Twilight. I'm like, why are you playing Perma Ana and you're not playing Twilight? Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I also think this should be a great meta for Boston. So, like, looking forward, I do have my concerns about Boston because this should be something they're very good at.
Yeah. I mean, Decay went 16-0 on Chamboli. Like, that was just an absolute. So, the way I'd sort of like frame this would be that the peak of Boston Uprising is absolutely crazy when they play their A game. Like, they're just an insanely good team. But it is that kind of like inconsistency. Like, what Boston Uprising are we getting in today's matchup? That is what really like holds me back. And I'm like, whereas Toronto Defiant, even though Toronto went 0-2, I just feel comfortable. Like they just feel like, fuck, I'm gonna say it, professional team.
Oh my god, there's no way you're giving that title away so early in the season.
Well, like they actually play like quite a few different compositions. And they have compositions for each map. And I feel like they can always pull it out. Like, if they come out with a Sigma composition, I'm like, oh, great. Kalush is going to play Sigma. Hydron maybe on the Widowmaker or something. Like, I feel comfortable with this. Even when they play, like, Mei Symmetra compositions, I'm like, I trust this Toronto Defiant team to come out with this Mei Sim and have a good performance. Dive still, like, I think that someone stood out was Sam, for example. It's speedily looking good. I have trust in the Toronto Defiant. So even though they start out 0-2, there's a sense of like trust. So Toronto Defiant in their upcoming matches, they're playing New York Excelsior, and I'm just like, I have trust in Toronto Defiant. Like, I'm not even second guessing myself. Just like, I feel very confident that Toronto Defiant are gonna beat New York Excelsior. Meanwhile, I look at Boston's schedule, and Boston are playing Washington Justice and Vancouver Titans, and there is no chance in hell I predict against the Boston Uprising. But I'm at least like, is there like a scenario where Boston like come in and they have a bad match or something and like they lose this match? There is that kind of uncertainty. There is no question about Boston Uprising's A game, but are we getting that match to match basis?
I think Toronto's at risk though. Toronto's at risk of falling because like there's already some cracks being shown, like where how explosive are they without Hydron at times, like how well, like Kalush is very flexible, but does he have like on main tank in particular, is he really like a difference maker so far? And also on top of that, like OG had a kind of a weak match, and like, you know, he's had like some ups and downs. Like, I'm not thinking OG is necessarily a problem by any means. It's just there's a lot of points where like there's some potential weak points on this squad that have to be ironed out and like see how they fit together, and just see how they like improve themselves on both like a team and individual level. So like there's a lot of wiggle room with Toronto right now. I just feel more confident with their performance so far, and they're showing against good teams.
I think there's a lot less variance between Toronto and Boston. Well, right, like Boston could be like fucking 4th next week, but they could also be like 11th. You know?
Maybe,
like
but I mean, the thing is, they really shouldn't. They shouldn't be that way. They have so much flexibility and so many good players. But
especially when you consider that, you know, the Izzyaki news that came out today had a collapse lung, which is like, you know, wish him
holy shit.
You know, a healthy recovery and stuff like that. But like, if we're just looking at it from the competitive standpoint, like that is going to be a loss for the Boston Uprising.
That's the second time that's happened now. Pelican had one 2 years ago.
Yeah,
they say it's supposedly there's a lot of factors, like, but like being very skinny and having bad posture are both physical predictors for like potentially having a collapsed lung. There also, I was reading something, but I don't know if that's true at all, that like apparently there's a higher incidence among like Korean men with it, but like I don't necessarily know if that's true or not. So
Yeah, was it Janus who had that, like pre-Overwatch League as well? Janus had a collapse lung or something like that.
Yeah, someone,
So-
one of the like LW players, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, so we send all the best wishes to Izayaki and the Boston Uprising franchise. Obviously, terrible news. So we hope that everything goes okay and that Izayaki feels all right, and wish him a speedy recovery. I have honestly no idea like what the repercussions of a collapsed lung are and how that. How
You
that
can't
affects
you
people.
can't fly to Hawaii. We learned that 2 years ago.
Yep.
True.
We know that much.
True. Yeah. Or Korea for that matter. So we'll see what happens in that regard. But yeah, obviously terrible news. So we wish Izayaki and Boston all the best.
Final thing about Boston: if this power ranking was influenced by your social media posts, how high would we have Boston?
I mean, I'd have them above Toronto. That's probably about it. I think they're leading. I respect that they're at least just memeing about the situation. I mean, I think personally, if we're doing based off social posts so far, the team with the best social posts so far have been like, I think Charge fucking popped off with the social that one Eric Andre meme. That was so fucking.
Oh,
funny.
that was really good. That was good. Now show it purple. Yeah. All right. We gotta move along here because we gotta get through this episode. Number 5. Oh boy.
Is this where we give Florida some negative points for dropping a map to Vancouver?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
There ain't no way Florida's coming into this conversation when we got Glads and the Shock just sitting around.
No,
here.
I think I'll be the one to say it. I think you should be shocked right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Whoa.
I didn't want to be the first one to say it. Yeah, I think it has to be the Shock, and then it would probably be the Glads for me.
Yeah, I think it goes.
Because that's in this meta, right? We're talking this meta right fucking now.
Yeah.
Right now, going into week 2.
San Francisco Shock then Glads for me. 100%.
I do have Glads above Shock, so if we're gonna go with Shock first, then yeah, this has to be.
And then I would probably put Florida.
Yeah, I would put Florida as well.
And then I would have Houston, then Atlanta.
I'm just gonna keep underestimating.
There you go.
Florida.
Wow, it's just like finishing a puzzle. We just had so few pieces left that there was nowhere left to go.
I like there is a world in which Florida is better than Houston, and maybe we are underrating and not giving enough credit to this like Florida team, but like
they could also be worse than Glads and Shock. Theoretically.
Yeah, I don't know.
Guys, just for your consideration, Florida's schedule for the week 1 was Vancouver and Vegas.
Yes,
Florida?
they had extremely easy schedule with Vegas. Like when you have Vegas, you have a bye for one of the matches,
and we're literally ranking teams with consideration to how easy or hard their schedule was. Like that was a base of which we ranked other teams.
Florida also won the Pro-Am, right? Like playing a very similar style.
Are we being Pro-Am pilled again or what?
I also think that like that's not Vancouver. I think Vancouver is also not a bad team. I think Vancouver's like a pretty decent mid-table team, and they played them pretty well. Like I think like when you have, obviously you could pretty much it's heavily reflect on how much does Pro-Am's weight count, but it's like essentially the same meta. Like
it's the same-ish meta. There. Like they were great.
Think their team is currently like, I think their team is well designed for the meta as well. Like it is a bit of a hopium, right? You could argue that maybe Glads and Shock, like based off their strength of opponents, maybe should go higher, but we don't have a lot of comparison points. Right.
Yeah.
So
I gotta stick up for my boys, the Gladiators. I'm not saying that they deserve to be top 3, but Gladiators are playing Mayhem this upcoming week, and I gotta tell you, I'm feeling good about the Gladiators coming off that Toronto Defiant win. I really do think that the Houston Outlaws loss, the 3-0 loss, that was horrible for the Gladiators. I think it was a bit of an anomaly. I'm going in on the Gladiators. So I'm buying Gladiator stock. If you guys have Gladiator stock to sell, I'm buying.
Glads they're an interesting
I'll sell
piece.
you mine.
They're an interesting piece right now because like they don't. It's clear to me the more I see from Gladiators, I don't think Dante's I think Dante's proven that he can play the main tank pretty solidly. But the thing that looks best for them is when they try not to play main tank. When they try to play like a slightly more unconventional comp and like force that queen, get like a Ramatra, get even like play some other interesting stuff. Like they played a tiny bit of Reaper at points, or Zarya I should say. Like I don't think they played badly with the Winston at all. I think the Winston is still they still play really well with it, but like their peaks, the moments when I see like, oh shit, like Gladiators are cooking, is when they do like an interesting comp. It's when it's like when they've been making like a slightly less conventional, less meta composition and trying to play
Queen against the Winston was good, right? Like,
yeah, like
the Queen against the Winston was a great look for the Glads, and that might be important for if they have to play against the Florida, Houston, or Atlanta, where that's what they're going to heavily lean on.
Yeah,
and also like so I think like I definitely think that like Gladiators, like for me, there's like some interesting like wiggle basis there of like how comfortable are they on the meta. Because Shock, I'm like, okay, I think they're perfectly comfortable. I just think I think they're just like have a raw mess of like they haven't really got anything together yet, like as a team, but like all the parts are there. Glads, I'm like, we're going with some parts that maybe not perfectly fit, but like they can cook and make it work. But how well is it always gonna work? Florida, I'm like, okay, all their parts fit. Like everything fits across the board. Like there is nothing that's like out of place.
Gladiators are playing Florida and Atlanta this upcoming week. So the Gladiators are going to have 2 banger matchups.
Damn, okay.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Back to back. That's going to be a scary Saturday and Sunday for Gladiators. So, yeah, I don't think my stock will go anywhere, Custa, because they'll probably win one, lose one or something.
I don't know if this is the week to buy, Johnny. This might not be the week to buy.
I mean, honestly, if we think about it, though, Gladiators, who knows how that match with Houston could have gone if they didn't lose to Shu. Shu literally just won them the Shambali, and, like, if they had just gotten that kill on Shu,
can we talk about why Yaki decided to go be a cart boy instead of run down Shu with the rest of the team?
Well, I thought it was him and Astro that went and fought him, right? Or was I thinking
Astro, Kevster. It was Astro, Kevster, Yaki.
Yeah, it was Astro, Kevster.
And you see Yaki like start to run towards Shu with Kevster, and then you see him turn around and be like,
well, but the thing is,
I should get the cut.
I think that's like the percentage play is like you should hope Kevster and Astro can 2v1.
I think the percentage play is to win the fight. Make sure, because if you kill Shu there and potentially kill Fearless as well, they're not going to get another good team fight, so you potentially win. I don't know. I saw that play by Yak, and I was like, ooh, I think.
But you would think at the highest level you can trust Kevster and Astro to 2v1 and Ana. You know, guarantee like you have a much better place. You know, it's a much better position to be getting the cap time while getting the kill, because you have 2 players, one of which is Kevster on Tracer, to kill an Ana. Like
Kevster wins that like 9
I feel like that's just a judgment call, and Shu just literally hit him with the meat. You know?
All right.
So.
We got to move on. We got to move on to the APAC power rankings as well, because these are going to be even more chaotic. I mean, this is really so much of our interpretation and cloud farming and everything you want to do with it. So, shit. Shanghai, at least. Shanghai. Yeah. Do we feel good about Shanghai? Shanghai just disappeared off the screen.
Shanghai should be the bottom.
Yeah, Shanghai the bottom.
Yeah.
Can we give them a? Best way. I still have honestly not seen the Shanghai game. I just have not had the time with everything going on. But I messaged in the morning, and I was like, "Hey guys, in the group chat, how did the Shanghai game? How was the flare tank?" And Vicky came in and said, "Flare tank played it like it was an echo the entire time." And I was like, that seems like a pretty good summary of why it would not work and like what Flare would do. So it's like, I don't know, like Moon's got to stop cooking.
This is the problem with only having very limited matches. We only had 1 day of APAC. It sucks, guys.
Yeah.
So this is
great for content.
I wish we had a second day just to gauge them a bit better, because the biggest problem for Shanghai is they went up against one of, if not the best team in APAC, and so you're gonna get dominated either way. If that being said, though, they still eye test wise, they still look the worst. But I don't know if it's because they look the worst because they're just that bad, or whether it's because they just play the best team and the best team humiliated them, and could be a bit of both there. But for now, off the basis of one match, yeah, they look like the worst off of one match. So I think it's fair.
I did see the duality of man though, because someone was like, "Yo, Viper rookie of the year." Other people were like, but like I was like, also, isn't Viper not a rookie? Am I misremembering this?
No, he is a rookie.
No,
people keep confusing him with Venom. There's 2 different people.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, someone came into my Matt chat and was like, yeah, Viper looking like rookie of the year. Then someone else came into my chat like, damn, Viper's
he does not look like rookie. The problem is, if you want to win rookie of the year, you have to be on one of the better teams. Like one of the top teams. You don't have to be the best team, you have to be one of the top teams, and I don't think Shanghai's going to be that.
So I guess we can count Bliss out.
Dallas have he's also playing. He's also playing support. He's also playing support, so he's probably not going to get it.
Dude, that is the most copium take I've ever heard. Dude, that's what it's funny because that's also what the Shock fans, Dallas and Shock fans, are finally uniting in one thing.
Hey,
we always lose matches at the start of the season.
Dallas just won the league. They're allowed some leeway. Shocks won it twice and they finished a 2nd place. They're allowed.
So are you going to put Dallas above Seoul and Seoul then?
No.
I think Dallas should go 5.
I think Dallas currently at 5. I think Dallas currently, they did not look good enough to...
How the hell, man?
And here's the problem. Here's the thing. Is like,
dude, Shanghai last and Dallas second to last in APAC.
Yes, 2018. We're back in season 1. We're back in season 1. We went into a time machine. Season 1 all over again. Custa's still on the team. This is back in season 1. He knows the pain.
Oh, to get traded to the Valiant.
This feels a little unfair, but it's like they only played one game, and off the back of one game, this is just where they got to land. Now, this is where they got to land. You got dominated. These are the two teams that got mega humiliated this weekend. Dallas and Shanghai. They both got 3-0'd, and it was not a close 3-0.
That's
so
crazy. All right.
Yeah, Dallas. It looked like every play on every position got diffed by their counterparts. Not even joking. Like Jimmy was better than Edison. Choi was better than Sparkle. Piggy was somehow better than Han, but there you go. And then the supports are clearly going to be better than the Dallas supports because I think the Guangzhou supports are the best right now. So, yeah, I mean, without any other data about Dallas playing anyone else, they just have to go 5 because they're the other team that got humiliated.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
Not enough sample size, but they got to go there.
So we are getting some clarity this upcoming week because Dallas are playing, which I propose to be number 4, Seoul Infernal this upcoming week. So we'll sort out that 4th and 5th spot. I think Seoul should go number 4. I don't know if there's
I would like to put Infernal 2nd for the memes, but I think probably 4th. Let me just...
Yeah, I think Infernal goes 4th.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're better than the Joes, and they lost to the Dynasty, so I guess they have to go 4th.
Yeah.
And I think Dynasty goes 3rd, right?
Wow, I feel great about this.
Yeah, I think it would go Charge, then Spark.
Then Charge and Spark, yeah.
Yeah, Charge and Spark after that.
I think it's pretty hard to put Charge above Spark at this point, as much as they look great. Like Spark.
Yeah, they're still... Spark are just nasty. They're making nasty, you know?
Yeah. And they're playing each other. We too. There's Chengdu. Chengdu is just lurking.
Imagine a world where APAC is the 2 Joe teams at the top. That's fucking wild.
Damn, it's Jover.
What a world we live in.
It's actually Jover.
It's Jover. Yeah, it is.
It's an unreal ranking to look at. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. I like the APAC region feels very competitive though. I really enjoy the like each match feels like it has a lot of gravity to it. Like there's a lot of outcome to it. Does that make any sense? There's a lot of I don't know. I'm just rambling.
I don't know what you're saying, honestly.
I'm lost.
I feel like every APAC match, I'm excited to see the outcome of the result. Like I feel like there's a lot that hangs in the balance with every matchup. Does that make sense?
Sure, yeah.
This is. I don't want to. Oh man, I actually can't wait for the Joe down. It's going to be so sick because the number 1 and number 2 team, power level wise, playing each other right now.
Yeah. So let's do that first. So we're actually going to do predictions in this one, but I didn't put down Hangzhou and Guangzhou for some reason, so we're not actually predicting that match. So just before we get into the official graphics, like Hangzhou versus Guangzhou, who do you got? I got Hangzhou, but I don't think that's a surprise to anyone.
I think Hangzhou are the safer bet. Like if you want to go the S&P 500 route, you go Hangzhou. Man, Guangzhou is just such an exciting prospect, aren't they? It's just like, oh man, this is the shit coin that's going to go straight to the moon.
I feel like you're getting too high on it. If we're going for Guangzhou, we're literally just full sending, right?
It's really tempting. Like
it feels like diamond hands, like bro. This feels
like a very cultured
GameStop right now, bro. This is GameStop happening right now.
Nah, yeah, I gotta go for Spark as well. I think
Spark is safe. They're the safe pick.
The safe bet.
I think like Spark, neither of these teams were really pushed too hard, but they showed their best things, and like mechanically, both these teams popped the hell off, and so. Eye test wise, they just look incredible. I mean, Shy Leave are as good as you thought. Like that duo matches and exceeds all expectations you imagined.
But they played Shanghai, right? And that's the kind of hard thing. Is it's like it's hard to say they exceed expectations when they beat down.
Yeah, but like they get on an eye test, like it's not when some teams they get an easy game and like maybe they don't like beat them as hard or they troll around. Spark like they're actually just pummeled.
Yeah.
And Leave gets to play stuff. He didn't get to play like for all of last year. Leave gets to play a little bit of Genji, which you never see because Leave spent his entire career next to Jinmu, who always played the Genji on the team. So you finally get to see a little bit of Leave Genji. Like, holy shit, that's right. He can also play this hero. Play some Echo, back on the Tracer. Shy didn't get to play that much hit scan. He had a bit of Widow in there, a little bit of Ashe in there, but it was mainly on the Sombra. They also swapped as well. Like they both play the Tracer, which is like super clutch when you have 2 players, your hit scan and your flex DPS, who can both just jump on the Tracer. Obviously, you prefer Leave on that one, but the flexibility is insane for that. You had a moment where Shy on Kings where Shy was on Tracer and Leave was on Ashe, just because of how the heroes landed, and they just both handled it and just played opposite world, played each other's roles, and played it well. That was good. So Hangzhou for me.
That's Chad like. Avast.
And we're also in a Winston meta, so you know.
Yeah, I'm believing in Spark.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go with Guangzhou.
No, I'm believing in Spark.
All right. So we're all going with the Hangzhou Spark. Makes sense, yeah. But dude, if Guangzhou wins this one, the fans are just gonna explode. Like, yeah, it'll actually be a spectacle to see. So I'm actually kind of excited at the prospect.
That post-match thread is going to be insane.
Dude, it's going to be.
I like that it's called
the
Joe match.
Joe.
Hey,
Battle of the Joes.
The Battle of Joes.
the Joe down.
The Joe down.
Joe down, yeah.
All right, so let's get into. We got 6 matches to predict, and I'll try to do 6 matches each week. And they're not necessarily like the best matches of the week or like the best teams. They're just like matches that I think are going to be reasonably close, or that has some like interesting storylines, or that we can cover. So first off, we got the Boston Uprising against the Washington Justice, and we got the Preds, I think. There it is. All right, so we all got Boston Uprising.
Is it a Plat Chat guarantee? We're bringing it back.
I don't think we have. I don't think we have the snapshot camera of the thing yet. Yeah. So,
okay.
This is the first week on the job for Solomon. I honestly, Solomon has done a fantastic job with all the assets, getting it ready in order and stuff. With a pretty short time to do so. So I mean, this is awesome already. But we'll get more Patrick guarantee and shit in the future. Hopefully that'd be sick too. So. But yeah, Boston Uprising for everyone. So to no surprise, I think, but there is that lurking temptation to pick Justice, I think, in this match.
Yeah, like Alpha Yi could go crazy, but then you're like, well, Boston are playing dive, and Decay is like playing very well on the Tracer. Like, I think we'll start to see like the cap of where Washington can go. I think they're going to be a strong team, and I think that they've impressed me so far. But I think if Boston lose this, this would be more of a Boston failing than a Washington success, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And also, it deserves to be said that I think we all made our pick before the Isayaki news, and I think it'd be quite in poor taste to speculate on the Isayaki news and the impact it had in this match. We honestly had no idea, and it's awful, and it might gravely impact how this match goes. But it's just terrible. So we're assuming a little bit here that the Isayaki hopefully can play, and how good Boston Uprising are with the Isayaki in the lineup.
And for my meme level take, I'm just going to say, like, for Boston to lose, you'd have to get their players to like have a boxing match in the parking lot. Just they'd have to feud. They would have to like get right up in each other's faces and start feuding, throwing keyballs and shit, and then they'll lose.
Honestly, that's just how people talk about esports boxing, and like Ludwig did that like boxing showdown, whatever. It honestly just be a great outlet for the Boston Uprising players to just like, go through some boss while you're making content at the same time. So I'm all for it.
Two players feuding, just get into it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can bond over that, because like all the MMA guys, they're like buds with each other, or not really. I mean, there's some heels and stuff, but they're like, hey, good fought, man. Like, hey, good game. So I don't know, maybe a bonding opportunity for Boston. Moving on. we got the Florida Mayhem against the Los Angeles Gladiators. Maybe a bit more close in this one. AVRL.
Wow.
You and me, AVRL, got the Gladiators. I believe in the Dante Junker Queen and the off tank. I think we're moving away a little bit from the Winston stuff, and I hope the Gladiators catch them off guard.
Wow, I think we're actually going the opposite direction. I think people are going to start trending towards Winston Tracer Sombra. So many teams tried to play something else and then always trended back to the Winston Tracer Sombra, and I think that is probably going to be the defining factor until we go into a patch. And I think the Junker Queen is a good look for the Gladiators, but I Florida just looks. I'm pro-am pilled. I'm someone pilled. Like, I genuinely believe in this roster in this meta.
Pro-am pilled. Yeah, I mean, I just need to see how I think this is like one where essentially I'm like at I'm like a 60%, like a 65% Florida versus like, 30-something% on Glad, simply because like they played really hard opponents and made good adjustments, and Mayhem just looked extremely cohesive, and they trolled a bit at times even. So like, we'll just have to see. Like, overall, the strength of the rosters and like the players in the roster, I'm like, okay, this meta makes a lot of sense for Florida to be really good at, to be like potentially like their best meta possible that they could be in, really, outside of like maybe like you have more like hard hit scanny type of things, but like for merit. But like, I think overall, like, this is going to be a very good meta for Mayhem. So
I'm the opposite of Scott. I'm anti pro-am build, so the pro-am didn't even count at all. Might as well just delete it, which is why just get rid of the Florida Mayhem altogether, which means Gladiators won actually. Also, Florida are a cheating team who do illegal maneuvers, and I'm all about competitive integrity, so I don't like cheaters. But no, on a more serious note, this is a real 50-50 because these two teams have the chance to be really close. I don't think we saw enough out of Florida. Like, given the actual matches played, I don't know. Like, there's not enough there. I feel like Gladiators, we got a lot better of a look. I think Houston's just a really insane team. But the Gladiators Toronto game was impressive enough from the Gladiators side that I'm willing to take a chance with them. But in all honesty, this could be a really close one.
Yeah, I can see being close. It could be Glads. Honestly, could be like, I do have a sleeper pick because especially because I'm holding on to the Yaki Bucks. You know, the Yaki Bucks do still obviously matter a lot to me. So like, but I think losing a close match with Mayhem would not hurt my reserves of Yaki currency too much.
Yeah,
I love that the match hasn't even happened and you're already defending Yaki. It's like, I want everyone to know,
Well, dude,
when the
he's
Gladiators loses, Yaki is fine.
As soon as Gladiators won their match versus Defiant, people were already being like, Avast feeling so good right now. I was like, yeah, buddy.
He did play well. He played very well in that match.
Yeah, I gotta say it was a big relief as well because it kind of proved that they made it work in the Pro-Am with Kai, and like Kevster Kai was really good in the Pro-Am, and now they find a way to make Yaki Kevster work as well. Like they have a winning recipe for that. So now they have multiple ways they can activate their DPS trio and really pop off. So credit to you, Avast. I will tip my hat to the Sombra Tracer stuff was nice from the Gladiators. But if we're feeling so good about the Florida Mayhem, then they should have no issue disposing of the Toronto Defiant. And we're all picking the Florida Mayhem against the Toronto Defiant. This one interesting as well. Again, these are teams that should be competing with each other. And I guess the interesting thing for Toronto Defiant here is at some point, you kind of have to compete with the likes of Florida Mayhem. This team was built to compete with the likes of Florida Mayhem and beat them at times. So if you're Toronto Defiant and you start like 0-3, 1-3, whatever, at some point you got to be like, well, you were supposed to win at least one or two of those matches, right?
Yeah.
I personally, I think this is a great meta for Florida and not a great meta for Toronto. Like, obviously they're very flexible and they can play everything to a high degree, but like, we're talking about, the inches between these two teams. Like, Kaluja and Winston is nowhere near as comfortable as someone. I think when Defiant can play Hydron on hit scan primarily, that's when they look at their best. But I don't think that's really where we're at right now. We're playing Tracer, Sombra, Winston. So I think Florida just feel a lot better in this meta right now against Toronto.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's just like they'd also love to play, like, I think they would continuously love to play like a lot of Brigida Ana still, which they can do, but they still have to play the dive. And like, if you're playing the Brigida Ana, you're not typically running this hard hit scan as much, right? So like, they're losing that it factor from Hydron, and also I think that like maps, it's not that OG Lucio is bad by any means. I just feel like they really want to give strength to UV and like pocketing that factor of Hydron, and they're not able to do as much when they're playing like these like divey comps or like Lucio Kiriko style comps. So I think that they're, especially because like Kaluja, I think is going to be more comfortable on off tanks overall. So like, it's definitely not just like the perfect fit for them across the board by any means.
I just went for a vibes pick, so here we are.
Vibes pick.
AVRL, big vibes guy. I just love that. You should put that in your
really
Twitter.
Bought into the vibes this year.
Big vibes guy. I love that.
I agree with what Scott said though. Generally speaking, like meta wise, this is just much better for Florida.
All right. Moving on next then. We're going to APAC. And if you had told me 2 weeks ago, or actually, we're not going to APAC. I lied to you. We're staying in West Region. We got one more match to talk about in the West Region. Atlanta Reign against the LA Gladiators. I kind of fumbled this one.
It's hard. Yeah.
But we're all going with the Atlanta Reign in this one. Obviously, looking like the best team right now. But a bit of a rematch from week one. So, or no, not week one. Sorry, the Pro-Am. Rematch from the Pro-Am. So let's see if the LA Gladiators can continue with that kind of momentum and take them down once more. But we all got the Atlanta Reign in this one. I feel like until proven otherwise, Atlanta Reign is just the team to beat, and they're going to be favored in every prediction kind of scenario.
Yeah. Someone's got to beat them before we start putting them down.
Yep. So there you go. That's the Western region. No surprises to anyone there. And we talked enough about Atlanta Reign already this episode, so we're free to move on. Now, bit more one-sided in the APAC region, but as I go back, let me rehype it again. If you told me 2 weeks ago that these teams would go head-to-head, this would be the Giga Banger, the two best teams in the APAC region. Alas, as we look at the results, no, yeah, it's all Langtos Spark. I'm just sad. I'm just sad about the loss of Dallas Fuel and their potential, the what could have been. They could have given us so much entertaining Overwatch, and instead, it's not happening, is it?
I'm really surprised that we didn't see more Dallas like leaning into their style. It kind of felt like they weren't really like, I don't know, maybe they scrimmed and were like, hey, this doesn't work. We kind of just got to go in line with what everyone else is doing. But yeah, I was surprised to see Dallas
What style? Brawl, or what do you mean?
Or like their Zarya Reaper stuff. And like that stuff's worked in the past. Like they played it a tiny bit on, I can't remember what map it was. It
Started Hollywood, I think, no?
Yeah, it was like Started Hollywood. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
like it didn't feel like...
Dude, I think Zarya is
going to be a
bad
meta for them.
Yeah, sir. But like Junker Queen, like if Junker Queen becomes meta, then maybe...
Yeah, people are doing it against the Winston. Like that seems like something that could be up Dallas's alley, right? Like that's sort of my point. Is like we know that they weren't going to be world class at this Winston Tracer Sombra meta. Like especially the loss of Doha, loss of Fearless. You can't expect Dallas to be able to play their old style. So I was surprised that we didn't see them leaning into that. So maybe they will, or maybe we'll see them get booty bopped by Hangzhou.
I mean, if there's a world where they bring out the Junker Queen and you know Russia's like, all right, they're doing this in NA, Hanbin's like the best Junker Queen. Shui's just going to come out playing Winston. It should be a pretty clear matchup in terms of what Dallas need to do, right? So I think if there's a world they're bringing it out, it's going to happen this week.
Yeah.
Got nothing to add. Got nothing to add. I'm on my Dallas Fuel cope. This is not the this is pretty much I'm hoping and fuel prototype competitive performance, so I can continue my cope train.
Yeah.
This is it. That's all I got going on because I don't expect them to win it in this meta currently. So.
All right. Well then, we got one final match, and the only reason why I brought this match up is because I'm fucking going all in, guys. I don't give a shit about your Guangzhou Charge 3-0 win. Profit is the best fucking player the game has ever seen. Void is the greatest. Void didn't even play, by the way.
He played Aim.
He did.
He played great on Sigma.
He played
Sigma. He played Ryan Sigma. That shit was wild.
Seoul Dynasty. Let's go. Whoa, let's go, guys. You got this.
I mean, you know what? Believe it, brother. I think it's fair. I've made that mistake in the past. Last year, I made that mistake when I went all in on the Smurf heads, and
oh yeah, the Smurf heads.
That was a far more serendipitous and lucrative roster potentially than the current roster of the Seoul Dynasty. So I wish you luck going down the Seoul Dynasty rabbit hole of believing.
I'm going down with the Dynasty. Let's go.
I've been there once before, and I will never do it again.
I want to make it clear that I may have been joking about the vibes pick earlier, but Johnny's not. He's going for a full vibes pick here.
Yeah.
There's no other way you could justify this unless it's a vibes pick.
Prophet is gonna shit on Jimmy. You heard it here first.
What? Ain't no way you think that Ford Prophet is gonna come anywhere close to my King Jimmy. You fucking okay, I hope that Jimmy takes a poo on the Seoul Dynasty. Prophet's fucking washed. I'm going all in now.
Average Jimmy.
By the way, every week Johnny talks about the Charge fans and how vindictive they are, and now they're going to screenshot this and come after you this week real hard.
I don't care. Villain arc, motherfucker. It's a villain arc. I don't care. Bro. Come after me. Tweet at me. Make sure you follow my Twitter while you're at it. But tweet at me. No, that's all. I don't really have anything else to say. I'll pray for the Dynasty, but yeah, there you go. No, but for real, credit to the Guangzhou Charge. They look amazing, and we'll see if they can keep it up. But it's looking really good for all the Guangzhou
to the Guangzhou Economical Technological Development Zone.
Yeah, and it is funny. I'll say that it is funny that somehow we've just found this way to truly attach ourselves to Guangzhou Charge and the Herbalife. But that's how it goes sometimes. I don't know if they still have Herbalife, to be honest.
Do they still have Herbalife? I don't know.
No, probably not. Probably not. Moving on. Lots of fun segments we missed out on, and there were some teams we didn't chat about. I apologize, but we gotta keep this episode short as it's 2 hours and 15 minutes long. But we could have done more to recap this week one, but we gotta go. I got 2 meetings coming up, so apologies for that. No worst take of the week this week, which I wish I would have done, but again, we're running out of time. So let's just launch ourselves into Bren's Player of the Week. Who do we got for Bren's Player of the Week? The one person or community that stood out, I suppose. Damn it, I feel like I really had a good candidate, and I'm sort of like
I have one I would like to put forward.
Okay, Custa, go ahead.
That one guy on Reddit who is betting against Bad Pachimari
Oh
to
my
see
God.
how truly cursed Bad Pachimari is. I think that is a great
That's a good one.
initiative
That's
to
a good
see
one, yeah.
how truthful this Bad Pachimari and how badly they need to be stopped.
Yeah, I like that one actually. I think that's fun.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense though, does it? Because when
No,
you're
it's not
betting on
really a community
matches,
pick.
there's
I mean,
odds.
we could give it to Izuyaki for coming through his medical emergency, hopefully. So it sounds like he's recovering. So
Should give it to Ben Best for his fire tweet.
Ooh,
And this is
Ben
an
Best
option.
is a fun one too.
That
I
is a
like
bit
the Ben
Brent's player of the
Best.
week-ish.
Yeah, that does feel very Brent's player of the weekish.
It was extremely drama-filled tweet.
I could give it to a chatter that when I talked about how I was talking about how Toronto Defiance current market cap value is worth less than their Overwatch League buy-in, and he's like, because I was like, their market cap's like 14 million Canadian, and then someone's like 14 million Canadians way more than 20 million US, and I'm like,
whoa!
I was
bro,
like, well,
that is.
I was like, well, I don't know where to begin with this one.
Well,
I don't know
that's
where to
like
begin
the
with this one.
defining factor of people who just come in with the most heinous takes.
I don't know about that one, but
We'll get back to those
the
next
best
week.
one's probably been best.
Yeah, I feel so. I feel like, yeah. I mean, it's not only for the tweet, but the fact that Ben Best made it back and it's looking amazing in the Overwatch League. So, credit to Ben Best. It's been a long journey, and now he's popping off, and he's
He had that tweet in drafts for 2 years, so I respect it.
Yeah. Held a grudge. Respect. All right, Ben Best, Brent's player of the week. Congratulations, Ben Best, week 1 of the 23 season. I do want to say as well, no members Q&A this week, but we'll return to that next week and keep it going regularly. So that's going to be it for Plat Chat Overwatch episode 176. Thank you to Solomon for producing.
Thank you, Solomon.
I feel
go.
way better.
The
I didn't
goat.
have to multitask. I didn't have to
Yeah.
do anything. I felt great.
goat.
And
The
everything was
actual
awesome.
Goat. Finally.
Solomon should have been Brent's player of the week.
Oh,
What the
you know
hell?
what? You're right. Should have been.
Oh
Solomon.
yeah,
From
no
last week,
shit.
yeah.
Well, we can't go back now. Sorry, Solomon. You got it
we
next week.
can't-
Next week,
and
Solomon.
also,
Yeah, you'll win it
it's
next week,
locked in.
Solomon.
It's locked in. Once we turn all the keys, it's like the nuclear football. It's too late.
Oh my God.
Solomon was probably the person I was thinking of, and then just escaped me. Like, oh, yeah, right. We have a producer, it's Solomon. Yeah, thank you so much, Solomon. Incredible work this week, and thank you guys for a great episode. I will forward this video to the Overwatch devs about our Lifeweaver suggestions. Maybe we get the horizontal pedal platform thing. It's gonna be great. All right, thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Plat Chat.